going to happen at Buckingham Palace at precisely 12:30 a.m.
Oh, they're turning the lights off?
They absolutely are.
And all the foreign crews are furious, because their audiences will have just woken up. So when all the American broadcasters want to stand outside Buckingham Palace and say, "Here I am live," it's going to be completely dark. Selfish of us. Why couldn't we time the wedding to be in the middle of the night here? Then the Americans could watch. And I hope there are ad breaks, so that NBC can shove in an advert for... what is it? Nachos they have?
What is it? According to the Telegraph, Kate has invited her very first boyfriend, Willem Marks.
I like Williams that are too posh to bother with the E bit.
It's very posh.
Willem. What's your name?
Is it Bill, Will, William, Willem? There's even a video wedding book for the public to sign. So let's have a look at some of the messages of goodwill and affection that have been left so far. Royal wedding will cost in one day half what the UK spends yearly on help for the unemployed.
Oh, lovely.
May their long and happy marriage be the last one of the monarchy of the UK. Vast numbers of people couldn't give the tiniest shit. Do I need to do these number 6 ones?
Helen Mirren.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, that's
right.
nice. We'd all like to do Helen Mirren, but we're doing a bloody quiz show, mate. That's what we're doing here.
Helen Mirren played the Queen, of course.
Oh, right, yes, yeah.
And here she is, talking about John Gielgud on BBC Breakfast News.
So that always inspired me. He always took kind of edgy choices.
Yes, and he swore a lot, as I remember. And there was
Well, in that sort of wonderful voice you had.
Exactly. that was
You
the
little
comedy.
shit.
Oh, no, you can't say it.
Take that back.
No, it was in the original
Not
pre-recording this time.
If you heard that, we're very sorry.
No, this week it's Chris Grayling. He's been complaining about journalists using the Freedom of Information Act to find out things. He said it is misused by those who use it effectively as a research tool to generate stories for the media. That isn't acceptable. Yeah, bloody journalists with their stories, eh? Why was he particularly being hypocritical?
I was camping earlier in the week. I missed this story.
Really? Was it nice? Where? In Wales?
Quite mild as well for the time of year.
Good, that was a big story.
I think it's too mild.
Do you?
I do, I don't like it.
Has it thrown out your body clock?
It really has. I'm
it?
menopausal.
Are you?
So it really doesn't help.
No.
You just want a cold wind up you at this time of life. You do. Yes, according to The Sun...
Waterloo Bridge and the Thames are a simple walk away.
Well, you want me to jump?
No. Cold air.
Oh, I see.
I don't want you to jump.
Paul,
Yes.
could you give me an hand here, mate?
Yeah.
You just read out the names when they come up. Don't get me wrong, I could do it myself. I just
Okay.
can't be arsed.
Right, okay.
Get on with this.
Yes.
So, the Greek president
Karolos Papoulias.
has been talking to the head of the Socialist Party,
Evangelos Venizelos.
the leader of the far-right Golden Dawn Party,
Chrissy Avgi.
and the young, charismatic leader of the far-left Syriza Party,
Alexis Tsipras.
more commonly known as...
Sexy Alexi.
Well, I'll be the judge of that. Oh, yes, he's all right, actually.
Yeah. You know, he looks a bit like Ed Miliband to me.
Oh, does...
Are you a man obsessed? No, this is Ken's attempt to find some work.
Shall we see how well the President has been getting on in his talks with these people?
I think he's going to come to the conclusion they can't stay in the euro, which most sensible people have realised about the last 2 years.
And then they're out.
They're out, and the world will carry on, and we'll all be able to afford to go back for a holiday in Greece.
You've become very upbeat, haven't you?
Getting a nice sleep now, isn't you?
Yeah. Like a log.
It's good for you at your age, sleep. So, how are several newspapers referring to this possible Greek exit?
Are they taking Greece and out? Grout.
It's called Grexit.
That's it, yes.
Sounds like a type of hair dye.
Again, we bow to your superiors.
And they get the Olympic torch and then they set fire to Athens. And then we go bankrupt because everyone's exposed to Greece, to this debt. So even Ken can't be cheery about that, can you?
No, I predicted this.
12
12 years ago in Socialist Economic Bulletin.
Oh,
Did you
my
remember reading
subscription
that?
must have lapsed.
Catchy name as well.
Once we sold 300.
Oh, yes. A move from the euro back to the drachma would have to be done on the quiet in the hope that nobody would notice. That should keep the situation nice and calm.
How did Labour's Harriet Harman get behind Kim Kardashian, which is an excellent hiding place, by the way?
She presumably said that Kim Kardashian was a role model and a marvellous figure and we should learn a great deal from her. It's usually what politicians say when they're asked about someone they've never heard of.
Yes. Harriet Harman called Kim Kardashian brave and pioneering, like Malala, but with a sex tape.
She didn't object to Kim putting out into the ether selfies of herself, slightly scantily clad, even though Harriet in her time has not liked pictures that objectify women.
Page 3 was male editors using young girls as fodder, she claimed. I get the sense from the Kardashians that they're going to make their own decisions and make their own way in the world. To which a viewer called Sarika responded, Kim Kardashian has not made her own way in the world. She was born into a wealthy family. The rest of us, men and women, just worry about paying the taxes to pay for your magic money tree, Harman, you disgrace. Ian, I feel like I haven't given you enough opportunity to show your knowledge on the Kardashian family, so I will give you a point for every Kardashian sister you can name.
Just move on. Let's just move on.
I didn't actually know she had sisters. I'm just getting over the fact that Kanye West isn't a constituency.
You could have had Courtney, Chloe, Kendall, Kylie. All spelled with a K. Yes, it's exciting.
And do they have children that start with a K?
No. Courtney. All right. Courtney.
There's a child they're all very fond of who they call Special K. And they look after him. He's lovely, comes through. How are you?
We catch up with Adam Werrity. Do you remember Adam Werrity?
He was Dr. Fox's friend.
There he is. He gave an interview to The Spectator this week, and amongst other things, we found out what his plans are for New Year's Eve.
He's going to spend it with the Foxes.
Yes, he is.
They're very forgiving.
Yeah.
Is he a friend of Dr. Fox's, like William Hague had that friend?
You should have a chat with our lawyer about that one. Yeah.
How do you spell innuendo?
You're doing Countdown. You should brush up on these things.
Oh. Don't talk to me about that.
No, well, have you done... Well, you...
I see all these letters.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, my God. And I get cat.
Yes.
And then some kid
Yeah.
says cataclysmic.
Yeah. It's only 9 letters, isn't there?
I don't know.
No.
Yes, he is indeed. Paul, you're right. He's going to be round at the Foxes.
It's just staggering how naive some of these senior politicians can be. Staggering. And then Cameron brings in Coulson into number 10. It's the sort of bloke you wouldn't have in the house.
Time now for the odd one out round. Blackbeard, Andy Hamilton, Conan, the Barbarian, and Ian Hislop. There you are.
Well, they've all got beards, except me.
So...
Thank you very much. 2 points.
They're all barbarians, except me.
How dare you?
How about
Just
you,
what a
sir?
barbarian would say.
Is it pirates? I'm a pirate in a children's cartoon.
You are exactly, yes.
So...
Do you remember what you're called?
I'm called... Yes, of course, sir. I'm a I'm a proper artist. Yeah. I'm Captain Squid.
You are. You're Captain Squid.
Captain Squid?
Captain
Squid. I'm a captain and I'm a squid. It's actually quite an achievement for a squid to reach that rank.
What's your Captain Squid voice? Your booming pirate voice?
It's very like this voice.
This is about having a parrot. I had a parrot when I was young.
Ian's the odd one out. He's not a pirate.
Yes, you're right. Ian has never been a pirate, but like many legendary pirates, he did once own a parrot. What was your parrot called?
We were a very imaginative family. It was
this
called
is gonna
Polly.
Be
It was a grey African parrot.
Did you teach it all your catchphrases?
And those would be, Alexander?
Yes. I don't know, catch looks, maybe. That's in catch look.
We had this parrot in Nigeria, where we were living when I was very young, and it was a lovely parrot, and it did a certain amount of talking in English.
I'm too good for this place. I really shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
What do we know about Blackbeard?
He used to set fire to himself, didn't he?
He did, isn't
Yeah,
that
he used to
right?
put fireworks in his beard.
Exactly. He would weave wicks laced with gunpowder into his hair and lit them during battle. Here he is, got a picture of him.
He runs a coffee shop now in Shoreditch. I've seen him. It's vaping. That's still happening.
Blackbeard was an infamous 18th century pirate in the Caribbean, known for his drunkenness and violent reputation. In fact, Johnny Depp used him as an inspiration for the character Johnny Depp in real life. Who's that playing Conan the Barbarian?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes, that's right. One recent review of Conan the Barbarian read simply, terrible film, terrible actor, terrible apprentice ratings, sad! Exclamation mark. Yes, they are all pirates apart from Ian, although he did once own a parrot.
I was a pirate, actually. After Nigeria, we moved to Somalia. The film Captain Phillips is based on me.
Shall we have a look at how the government have handled accusations of incompetence?
Badly.
Let's have a look.
But no apology, Home Secretary, for these failings which NHS staff and their families blame on the government.
Well, I'm sorry if people feel that there have been failings. I'll be very, very clear about that.
That's great. That's one of those I'm sorry if.
When I first started having, when I had a business that had customer complaints, to kind of protect ourselves, we'd use the if you feel. We're not admitting it. It's not our responsibility if you feel. You know, I mean, I learnt very quickly that really winds people up.
It just means if other people are so stupid as to take offence by the fact that I've done something they don't like, then I'm sorry for them. It's a non-apology.
Speaking of Priti Patel, did you see how, when it was Priti Patel's turn to have a go at messing up the press briefing, her describing how many people have been tested for the coronavirus?
Oh.
Let's have a look.
I can report, through the government's ongoing monitoring and testing programme, that as of 9 a.m. today, there have been 974,000 tests carried out across the UK.
Phil, you've got an engineering degree. Just talk us through that number.
Yes, that number is what is known as the Goldilocks point of the ideal number of tests to have. It's a very rare number. It's only been used a couple of times in history.
Isn't it more worrying that the Home Secretary can't read a number, so that this fine, if you go outside and you're sunbathing for 150 quid, might be 150,000 quid by the end of the week? Or if there's a prison sentence for walking your dog at the wrong time of day, maybe that'll be 10 years or 50 or 100,000 years. I'm genuinely worried. I mean, you know, we did quite a lot of jokes about the shadow Home Secretary, who wasn't very good on numbers in terms of the police. But, I mean, Priti Patel, she's in a league of her own. You've got to give it to the Tories. I mean, this is class number wangology.
I tell you what, I went to a chemist the other day to get a thermometer, and whoever put the price on that, I think, was using Priti Patel's number system. I mean, that was a number plucked from the air.
I live with my sister, and in a moment of desperation, she brought back a meat thermometer, because it's the only thing she could find. So we've got a thermometer about this big now. And it's not very accurate.
Where'd you put it?
Maybe don't answer that question. But what is going to happen to Parliament?
It's going to become virtual, isn't it? That they're all sort of going to be doing it a bit like the way we're doing this show, where people are going to be sitting at home, presumably, and I don't know how many MPs there are altogether. There's like 660, isn't it? Something like that. So they're all going to divide the TV screen up into 660 little squares, and they will all be invited to speak one at a time.
And it's being organised by Jacob Rees-Mogg, which could be quite funny on Zoom, because if he just lies down, we just won't see him at all. Just a blank bench. I can't wait.
According to The Guardian, a lot of MPs don't think the online Parliament will work because taking spontaneous interventions will be hard to facilitate via video conferencing. I think we're proving that wrong tonight. What's the good news for MPs? It's to do with money.
Well, they're getting £10,000 for working at home.
They are getting an allowance of £10,000 if they need things to help them work from home. What might they need that costs £10,000 to work from home?
Chairs, tables, videos, you know, stuff.
Duck houses. Do you need your wife as your secretary? That seems to be very, very important, and particularly if she's in the next room.
And what about the police? They're encouraging people to inform on their neighbours now for persistent rule infringement. How are people with holiday homes trying to get around being stopped with luggage in the car?
Oh, I don't know, but they're all driving down at night, aren't they? Wasn't there lots of rumours about clandestine driving down the A303?
They're driving down in their cars with no luggage, and they're getting a courier company to send the luggage on, so that when the police stop them and they say, are you moving down here, they say, no, we're not, we haven't got any luggage.
Yes, this is coronavirus, which has been in the news this week. Priti Patel gave her briefing flanked by government advisers who kept the strict 2 metres away from her, which the Home Office has recommended with Priti.
I've never watched an election a US election unfold overnight from London, from watching the BBC overnight. And that's the way, if you want to watch America go down the dumper, watch it through the befuddled nocturnal fog of a man named Andrew Neil. Watching a man, he's just barely on top of everything. And he just sits there, and he had other people beside him. He looks like he's squeezed in like this. And then when they're not there, he still looks like he's squeezed in. Like his body's trying to eject itself. And he comes out, and he's trying to explain the Electoral College, and nobody quite gets it, because it's impossible to explain, and it just, somebody's got to get it 270, and now you're watching his scoreboard at a bowling alley, and then finally they give up, and they just bring out this guy who just dances on a map. He dances on a map, and he's trying to show all the states with his feet. He's going like, oh, there's Wisconsin, and there's Ohio, and oh, there's a red state turning blue. Oh, I mean, Christ. Trump is becoming president, and the guy's playing Twister. And then finally, you know, there's just at the top of Andrew Neil's head, spray-on thatch thing. And he comes back up at 6:30 and says, Trump's president, and great, Trump's president, I'm watching an acorn talk to me.
The longest TV review I've ever heard.
This wasn't the most shocking food news that we've had this week. What else have shoppers reacted to in amazement?
Oh, blue ribbons. Not going to be made. Is that the one? Are the jobs going at blue ribbons? No.
Well, the jobs are moving.
Moving.
Yeah, so Nestle has said...
To a different country, I think.
They're going to move 300 biscuit-making jobs from Britain to Poland.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to get home at night.
And social media was set alight by people baffled and upset that a biscuit they'd always thought was called Blue Ribbon...
Yeah. Is it und, isn't it? It's a d on the end, isn't it?
Yeah, it's called Blue Riband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did people think it was called Blue Ribbon?
I have no idea, because it's been called that since 1936.
It has.
And consumers were so deeply traumatised.
You saw people crying in the streets.
Yeah. They went online to vent their horror. Yeah, of course they did. Becca wrote, I've been lied to all my life. And Terry agreed with riband. That'll take some explaining. OK, I'm going to do a little experiment with you now, which I know you'll love.
Yeah. Have you got some?
No, we've not got an endless budget, Ian.
But only 99p for a packet of 8, I noticed on that still earlier, and at 99 calories a treat. That's fun for all the family.
Are they paying you?
Let's hope so after this goes out.
So what I'd like you to do in this little experiment is write down the name as it appears on the label of a KitKat?
No, you seem to check.
No
No conferring.
No conferring.
It's like the Tory cabinet. Make it up yourself.
OK. But I've written KitKat because I'm assuming that's how it's written on the label.
Right, Robert, let's see yours.
Just says KitKat, really. I mean...
It's a circle with KitKat on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I put a hyphen in it.
Right, yeah.
Oh, it could be a hyphen, yeah, it could be.
Preston on Politics this Sunday at 9 featuring...
I love you! Actually, that's sabotage. It's 10.
It hasn't got a hyphen. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
We were right. No hyphens over here.
Amazing.
OK.
233 calories, though. You're better off with 2 blue ribbon.
This is the idea that the act of Russian warfare that comes next will be invading our homes via our kettles. Yes, the hackers use your kettle's default password to take control of it and
Hang on, your kettle has a default password?
I mean, your kettle probably doesn't.
My kettle doesn't know.
No, but if you have a smart kettle...
A smart kettle?
Yes, you can boil water from another room.
Can you boil a kettle in somebody else's house without their permission?
Yes. Well,
that's how Putin could launch an invasion. All our kettles could spontaneously start boiling.
Everybody rushes to make a cup of tea and he's coming across the Straits of Dover.
Straight in.
But you're joking, but...
I mean, this is happening.
No, it's not really happening, Ian.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Well, the kettle thing, that was just... I made that up.
No, you see, you didn't make it up. They can take over the kettle via the password and press-gang the kettle into a botnet. The enslaved device then lures others into the botnet, and they're all told to make endless requests from the same server, causing it to overload and crash.
Yeah, this did happen last week. There was a crash when all sorts of bits of the internet were unavailable and fell apart after they were hacked into it. It made a huge difference to my life. I couldn't get on Twitter, Instagram. I was taking pictures of my lunch.
You had to get an Uber car instead of your regular handsome cab.
Not just kettles. I mean, what else? What are other...
Fridges.
Toasters.
Yes.
Toasters are the worst.
Electric hand openers. Toasters are the worst.
Webcams, baby monitors, printers, routers. You must have some of these things.
But I have a baby monitor, yes, but that's kind of was a foolish purchase, really, because I don't have any children.
Aren't we protected by the fact that we've got very slow broadband?
Why should we not be worried about Russia's aggressive posturing, according to Professor Mark Armand?
Somebody hacked into you?
Yeah.
Mr. Putin has a reasonable regard for him.
Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features, as its guest publication, Oil Installer, the magazine of the heating industry.
That looks like my local priest.
And we start with, I look forward to the arrival of Oil Installer magazine, but
I must get out more instead.
If anyone gets this, I'll give you £100 of my own money.
OK, right, here we go. I look forward to the arrival of Oil Installer magazine, but I wish you had more colour photographs to indicate the wide-ranging aspects of our industry.
The opposite.
I look forward
I'll give you £100.
It's gone too The answer is, I look forward to the arrival of Oil Installer magazine, but we are a niche specialist magazine and we should keep it that way. Next, what missing for more than a century rediscovered by scientists?
Theresa May.
The answer is faceless fish missing for more than a century rediscovered by scientists. This is the faceless fish that was spotted this week for the first time in Australia since 1873. According to the scientist who found the fish, you can't see any eyes, any gills or any mouth. I think what you found there, mate, is a stick. Next, what? No longer a dirty word.
Coffee.
Dirty.
Oil.
Oil, no longer a dirty word. According to Oil Installer, oil is no longer a dirty word. Well, that depends on your point of view. For some, oil is refined. For others, it's crude. And finally, big birds are more likely to what?
Fly short distances. Cluck longer.
Big birds are more likely to be faithful. Scientists revealed this week that birds with small brains are associated with promiscuity, with females being the guiltiest of all. According to the research, the albatross was the most faithful bird, followed by the guillemot, while the common shag was what they called the sparrow who lived opposite.
So when it comes to tax, what does every politician really want?
To be able to declare their own tax affairs, make them public.
Transparency.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And what do they mean by transparency in this case?
We're not going to do it.
They mean revealing a very small amount of information that doesn't tell you too much.
Yeah.
So you just put your income in, and if income isn't your big thing, if, say, assets, say you're in the cabinet, just thinking randomly, then you don't have to declare those. So, you know, transparency up to a point, which is opaque.
That makes a lot of sense, yes. Yes, according to The Guardian, there is an agreement between Cameron and Osborne that all senior ministers should be transparent. Let's hope... Let's hope they don't mean Eric Pickles. Yuck. According to The Express, Cameron is relaxed about revealing his income tax returns. According to The Telegraph, George Osborne says he hasn't set his face against it. Which face does he use when he sets his face against it? Does he use this face? Or this face? Or this face? So why is it all kicking off now? What started this rumpus?
It's Ken Livingstone.
That's right.
It was discovered that Ken had said that people who avoid tax are rich bastards who shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turned out that he pays a lot of his earnings into a company and pays not tax at 40%, but corporate tax at 21%. And a lot of people irresponsibly thought he's avoiding tax. What a bastard. Then there was a fight between him and Boris.
In a radio station, in a lift. What did he call him, though? Did he call him a lying wanker?
No, I'm afraid it was the F word.
Lying wanker?
I'm not helping here, am I?
Happens to be one of our finest banks.
You're very close. Boris screamed into Ken's face, "You're a liar." Presumably a phrase...
Who cooperated with the FIFA inquiry?
The English.
Yes, no one except the English and the Australians, and definitely not the Russians or the Qataris.
We never get it, do we? We're conducting... Oh, yes, we'll help. You're guilty.
But why... I mean, why would anyone believe the Russians could be corrupt? But why didn't they cooperate with the FIFA inquiry?
Because they destroyed all their records by accident. Yes. As you do when someone says, I'm conducting an investigation.
It was simply that the Russians were unable to provide more than a few documents from the bidding process because the computers they used during their bid had been leased, they were returned and subsequently destroyed by their original owners.
We must bid for the World Cup. First, we must rent some computers.
Qatari Mohammed bin Hammam undoubtedly paid money to a delegate from Tahiti specifically to vote for the Qatari bid, but why have FIFA dismissed this as irrelevant?
But they said he wasn't acting on behalf of the Qataris. Despite being Qatari and described by the Qataris as their greatest asset in our bid for the World Cup, he was not acting for them. Thank goodness FIFA sorted that one out.
But in this instance, they know he paid money to a delegate to vote for the Qatari bid, so that it's definitely to do with the Qatari bid, but they dismissed it as irrelevant because they said this was only one vote out of the 13 required and therefore could not have been significant. If the ballot papers of 1/13 of the British electorate were forged, that wouldn't be relevant because it couldn't affect the result.
No.
I mean, it's not funny, but these people are arseholes. What, according to the FIFA report, did the English bidding team do that was so worthy of condemnation?
They organised a gala dinner for Warner and generally sucked up to him.
It's almost sweet, our pathetic attempts to bribe them. We sponsored a dinner for Caribbean football to the tune of £30,000 and found a part-time job for a friend of Jack Warner. That's the Jack Warner that the Qataris paid over $1 million to. I think they got a signed copy of your book as well. Did you see the exchange of emails between some of bin Hammam's staff as the allegations of corruption first surfaced?
No.
Well, they appeared in the Sunday Times. It starts, I need you to start shredding his correspondence. So soon? Yes, start from now. There are 3 years of filing to be shredded. Just do it discreetly, OK? What about the request from the Russians to shred?
Richard, here's another for you.
Oh, yes, of course, it's the flag of the European Union. We know that. Yes, Nigel Farage, and he's on his way to a public ceremony. Gays are allowed to get married since Sunday. It's fantastic. Really good news, brilliant. And this couple here are one of the first to actually, say the rights. They're now husband and husband. Fantastic news.
Oh, it's lovely.
It's a lovely story.
A lot of people think it won't last, but I'm all for it.
I think so. They've had a couple of arguments, a couple of them in public, but, they'll get together as a couple. They'll be absolutely fine.
I think it's the story about Nick Clegg and Nigel Farage having a TV debate.
And who do you think won?
I don't think either of them are truly winners, are they? I think you've got best loser.
According to Donald McIntyre in The Independent, journalists had been briefed that Nick Clegg was going to do something unusual during the debate. What was it?
He was going to show some passion.
Get emotional.
On a space hopper.
And did he get emotional?
He got a bit emotional.
He used his hands a lot, didn't he? Sort of, just to show emotion and stuff. He and he took his shirt off as well, I think, didn't he?
Yeah. As far as I understand it, yeah. They wrestled like men. I quite enjoyed the debate, and I think because of the way I watched it, because I didn't watch the pictures, I just had the audio. Then I turned the volume right down, and genuinely I enjoyed it.
Well, it's slightly odd. You're the Deputy Prime Minister, and you're taking on live television a man who hasn't got one MP. And he wins. This is supposed to be equal status.
Apparently, Clegg told Farage, you're making things up to make a point, to which Farage replied, you've done pretty well out of it.
In other mistake news, why have Google been suffering from rogue anuses?
Oh, yes. This is... there's a... There's a computer program which misreads old print, so arms comes out as anus, so farewell to anus. I drape my anus across her shoulder in a comforting manner. This is what's happening. They tell us if I'm making it up, but I'm not, am I, David?
You're not making it up.
No.
The scanning technology they use to turn books into e-books can't differentiate between arms and anus in certain typefaces. Here's a quote from John Mackay Wilson's Tales of the Borders. Poor Janet shuddered at the words which she heard him utter, for with strange and wicked oaths he vowed vengeance on the individual who'd persecuted him, and she flung her anus around his neck and kissed his forehead. From Georgina Bragg's Matisse on the Loose, she grabbed my anus and positioned my body in the direction of the East Gallery, and we started walking. And in the complete works of Washington Irving, there is a reference to the great captain who had been one of his comrades in anus. Are there any other words that Google Books scanning technology is confused?
Yeah, it can't do tax.
Yes, it reads tax as free. No, it's burn and bum get muddled up as well, as in a patent for a carrier for an integrated circuit that talks of bum-in electrical contacts.
God, Scotland, what happens? It's bums night.
Where they all join anuses and sing Old Lang Syne. They're not New Labour anymore. No. I hadn't noticed that. They're going to rebrand.
Yeah, Labour.
Labour Classic.
Yeah. They couldn't call themselves New Labour when Blair left. It's like when Mike Nolan left Bucks Fizz. They couldn't call themselves Bucks Fizz anymore.
Labour could go with Bucks Fizz. Champagne socialists, but slightly diluted with orange juice. And the Lib Dems, what are they?
I think they're going to sit this election out. That's probably...
They've got a note from their mother.
I think they'll play the sympathy vote to a certain extent. Just have Nick Clegg topless holding a puppy, just looking into the camera like that.
According to the Sunday Times, what has David Cameron decided to do?
Resign.
No.
Go on holiday.
No, this is about the TV debates.
He's going to debate with Nigel Farage. He's going for the toughest one first.
That's right. Cameron is going to take on Farage. According to the Sunday Times, Cameron wants the TV debates to be in a 2-3-5 formation. So that's Cameron Miliband, Clegg Miliband Cameron, and Farage Cameron Clegg Miliband with Yaya Toure behind the strikers. Thank you for laughing. I don't know what that meant.
Basically, Ryan Giggs has spent an awful lot of money to ensure that he's become world famous for stuff other than football.
Yeah.
But people still might be sued for telling people that it was him, so...
Yeah, well, that's right. The MP, John Hemming,
yeah,
he said that apparently 75,000 people named Ryan Giggs on Twitter. It's not possible to arrest them all. Well, I mean, it's worth a go, though, isn't it? I mean, well, the thing is, the injunction is still in place.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Despite the people keep going blabbing it out, there's a legal expert, Joshua Rosenberg.
Yeah.
This is what he had to say about it, right?
Well, the law is clear. There is still a court order in force which says that we can't name Ryan Giggs as the person who brought these proceedings.
Stop!
I'm pleased we can say his name, though, because I was getting so fed up. Every newspaper, every day, it was like, Imogen Thomas has been having sexual liaisons with a man who cannot be named.
No.
It's like, what, Voldemort?
Yeah.
I sort of see why he did it as well, Ryan Giggs, because you get the super injunction. He knows that if his identity was known, then people would know not only who he was, but also that his marriage was on the rocks. And at that point, John Terry would be round his house. Like a sex-crazed wicked.
Yes, the worst-kept secret in Britain is finally out. Lawyers are a complete waste of money. As the row unfolded, thousands of Twitter users named Ryan Giggs in what the Daily Mail called one of the biggest acts of civil disobedience in modern times. Top that, Syria, lightweights.
How did News International senior executive James Murdoch boast about the way the company was handling the scandal only a week ago?
Well, he said that they've contained the scandal and it's now in a box.
Yeah.
Yes, he said, we were really able to put this problem in a box marked fuck-up.
He called him a mafia don.
Yeah.
Which isn't nice, is it?
Well, they were very upset about it, and they sent me a letter of complaint.
Really?
Pinned to a horse's head.
What happens to the rest of the horse? I mean, doesn't anyone ever get a horse's arse?
I suppose it must be for more minor misdemeanours, you know.
What, a horse's arse? I think it'd be worse than a horse's head. Wouldn't it? Waking up next to a horse's arse?
It's like... I
hope you know there's something personal about that.
You might say that a horse's arse was more flirtatious, though.
Flirtatious?
That's an odd word to pick.
That's an interesting window into your life, David.
What, according to The Observer, did Rupert Murdoch do when Gordon Brown became PM and initiated an investigation into the phone hacking?
He phoned up number 10.
After the Guizy?
Yeah.
Their source was an ex-minister who wants to remain anonymous.
Do you think, though, that Murdoch could just ring up number 10 during your time there?
I know nothing.
You know nothing? Is that why you were in the cabinet?
So what did you think of him then?
What, Gordon?
Yeah, he was all right, wasn't he?
He was the Prime Minister.
Yeah. And you can't have a more ringing endorsement than that.
The News of the World may be dead, but its wretched ghost continues to haunt. The News of the World paid a private investigator to carry out surveillance on the hacking victim's lawyer, Mark Lewis, which involved following the ex-wife of Mr. Lewis and his teenage daughter as they visited a branch of Tesco. Well, if you're looking to intimidate someone, every little helps.
Oh, yes, this is the happy news of the mine has been released, although apparently viewers are getting rather fed up with the coverage because it's all rather similar. So the last 15 miners are going to be part of a lottery game where they're going to be holding up a number, and you... if you've got the number at home, it's your chance to win... Oh, what was that?
Somebody winning the lottery.
Oh, somebody winning the lottery.
You know what the sequence of events was for each rescued miner?
They got in the thing, and they took them out.
Yeah.
They got out of the thing.
Pretty much. According to the Times, the claustrophobic escape capsule takes 15 minutes to travel 700 metres. If you want to imagine what that's like, take a trip on the Northern Line. The 24-hour news channels have been enjoying this story, but there was just a hint that they might be running out of things to say. Let's have a look.
So far, the only miner to emerge from the tube with a beard.
Next, Peter Adams analyses Reginald's what?
It's got to be bonsai, isn't it?
Oak.
He analyses... Peter Adams analyses Reginald's tree and finds it isn't bonsai, it's just very far away.
No, it was bonsai. It was Peter Adams analyses Reginald's bonsai. Here's Peter Adams in bonsai focus. That's his actual size, obviously. Several celebrities own bonsai trees, such as Ronnie Corbett. He likes a bit of shade.
Does Tom Cruise have a bonsai as well?
Hey, don't slag Tom off, all right?
It was just a normal-sized tree.
Leave him alone, leave him alone. He's suffered enough.
Did you go and see him because you're going to have a remake of Twins, the Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger film?
You should remake all of Arnie's films, actually.
You have been well and truly rumbled.
The Terminator.
Yeah.
I'll be back. I'm telling you that. I will be back. I'll bloody be back. I'll tell you that. I'll be back.
Big commando facing all those people. Oh, watch it, lads. Someone's going to get hurt.
Is there any other impressions you do other than me?
I do Tony Blair, but then I sound like him anyway.
Offend someone in Tony Blair's voice.
You know...
That's it, I'm offended.
And so, to round two, the strength-ometer of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's the first one.
That's a cake, isn't it? It's the Great British Bake Off winner, that is. There was talk about there being some misogyny. Some people on the internet were very harsh about some of the contestants, I believe. Go on, what is it now?
We were just going to tell you who the people were. The gentleman on the left is Monsieur Raymond Blanc, the television chef, and he tweeted what appeared to be a sarcastic remark about the winner 24 hours before the winner was announced, and possibly spoilt the whole competition.
But he got it wrong, because it wasn't the winner.
Indeed, he said, you know, French is my second language. Theresa May then phoned up and said, oh, you're some froggy waller, are you? Well, get out! Get out!
This is what he tweeted. The Great British Bake Off, not much skills, female tears, and a winner so thin who makes me doubt her love for great cooking, baking. Who did that text refer to?
It referred to Ruby.
That's Ruby.
Ah, yes.
But you can't really tell how thin she is there, because she could have, like, a really massive body under there. Must have more photos of myself taken from that height.
And this is the winner.
Francis. Right. And a lot of Bake Off fans were furious. Yeah. What did former finalist Mary-Anne Boormans compare the situation to? Do you know?
No.
The end of the Crimean War.
She said it was like someone saying Snape killed Dumbledore before you've read the book.
Good grief.
Have you all read
Harry Potter?
Yes.
Oh, no! My children and grandchildren are watching this. You've just ruined 7 people's childhood.
Well, good. Let's see what Frances said about her personality. My key ingredients are a dollop of randomness, a teaspoon of wonder, a pinch of eccentricity, a drop of serendipity, a handful of curiosity, a fluid ounce of fun, and a cup of cold sick. So, this is the grand final of Bake Off, which I watched this week. It was contested by 3 female cooks, which is odd because I happen to know for a fact that the best bakers are all male, and they're all called Greg. One of the finalists, Ruby Tando, received a lot of coverage for her looks. She complained, saying, if I see one more person use the pun doe-eyed, I will personally go to their house and force-feed them an entire Charlotte Royale. Ruby, you're doe-eyed. Yeah. 'Cause, 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 dough with an O-U-G-H. If I'm not at home, leave it with my neighbour.
It's now time for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week. Ming the mollusk, Glenn Greenwald's phone, Bert Kwok, and the E. coli 0157.
Well, I think it's called Ming the mollusk because it's 500 years old and dates back to the Ming dynasty. And scientists found it, didn't know how old it was, killed it.
Killed it.
And then discovered it was the oldest animal that I think has ever lived.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you can get ill from eating those.
Yeah.
E. coli can make you ill.
Absolutely. Bert Kwok, is it the actor or is it the part he's playing there in the Pink Panther films as Kato? It's the actor.
It's the part.
It's
he's
the
playing
part.
Kato.
Give us a clue.
Yeah.
Containing the answer. Oh, cold. Cold.
Oh, right, OK. Yes, Kato was hidden in a fridge.
Yes.
He was hiding in a fridge in one of the films, shot in the dark, I think, and he comes, bang. So it's about people being put in fridges. The mollusk was should have been put in a fridge and it would have survived. Kato jumped out of a fridge, he was all right. The E. coli bacteria is all right if you freeze it, and it's the bloke with the phone.
His phone was
the
hidden
fridge
in the
thing was right. Everything else was wrong. But
Yeah,
I'm still
good.
going to give you a point because I feel like we should move on.
No, but the other one out was Glenn Greenwald's phone.
No, it wasn't. Stop taking over. You can do that on your radio show, which is on at 3:30.
Have you got a radio show?
Yeah, Mondays 2 p.m.
I'm going to write that down.
The odd one out is Ming the mollusk.
Ming the mollusk.
All the others have survived a stint in the freezer, except for Ming the mollusk, who died. Glenn Greenwald,
Yes.
the former Guardian journalist who was involved in the publication of the intelligence emails leaked by Edward Snowden, regularly used to put his phone in the freezer. Why would he do that?
He was worried it would be bugged.
Or security, yes. There's an even more effective place you can put your phone to stop anyone hacking it. Any ideas?
Is that News International HQ?
A martini shaker.
Oh, OK.
E. coli 0157, one of the nastiest strains of E. coli, can survive in the fridge or the freezer. How old were you when you first got colonised by an E. coli bacterium, Janet?
Funnily enough, I had amoebic dysentery when I was 7. And I was actually in hospital.
How on earth did you get that? I thought that was...
I got it in Fulham. I grew up quite near you, Paul.
Yes.
I think it's something you sent from Fulham Palace Road to my road.
I used to send out those parcels all the time.
Ming the mollusk was an ocean quahog, a type of clam. How easy is it to date a clam?
Well, you have to get them drunk first.
There's an app called Chowder.
You need to watch out for chlamydia, though. It's quite... No, I've never dated a clam before.
No.
Pulled a few muscles. But if nothing else, this story brought out a certain solidarity amongst headline writers. What do you think The Independent, The Mirror and The Mail all went with for their headline?
Clam dead after 500 years. No, that wouldn't be very good, would it? Shuts.
Clam shut. Clam shell, clam shut, clam...
Tears, cry.
Yes. Clam claps mime artist.
No! Are you taking the piss? You know what it is now.
No. You do! This is what stupid people look like!
I've never seen anyone worse at charades than you.
No. That is a very good clam mime.
We got the clam bit.
Oh, sorry. The sad bit, the sorrow. What would happen? Oh, damn, it's such a...
A shame.
What a shame! Calamity! Ian!
No, that's terrible.
No, Ian! It's obviously terrible. It's a calamity. I'm not mad, am I? You all got that.
What were the tears for? How would that lead us to calamity as a pun?
That was useless.
Right, you're all going. You can be the panellist now. Come on.
This is the most powerful number. 7. Is that right? They did a survey. I must have read this somewhere.
They have. They've done a survey, and 7 is the world's favourite number.
Favourite number?
Yes. Alex Bellos asked 44,000 people to submit their favourite number, and 7 proved the most popular. He describes it as the loner, the outsider, the Nigel Farage of the number 1. Shall we go through the top 10 world's favourite numbers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's at number 1? Number 10, sorry.
So, number 10, what do you think?
Number 9's number 10.
No.
Number 8's number 10.
No.
Number 10's number 10.
No.
Number 1.
No.
2.
No, all numbers are available.
Oh, 128.
No, at number 10, the 10th most popular number is, in fact, 11. At 9.
It's 10.
No.
40.
No.
21.
No.
100.
At number 9 is the number 2. 2. Most popular number in 8th position is 6. At 7, the 7th most popular number is 9, and the 6th most popular number is 13. OK, here's the top 5.
This is going to be on Channel 4 for a whole evening. There'll be some talking heads in a minute. What do you think of 6? Yeah, love it.
I've always liked 5 because it's a working class number. That's what I like about 5. Well, I think that 3, for me, I mean, when I was first growing up, I thought 3 was a magnificent... Oh, sorry. I've started auditioning. Sorry. Where am I?
But let's firstly complete the top 5.
Yeah.
At number 5 is 5.
Yeah,
and number 4 is 4.
Yes.
And number 3 is 8.
Oh.
At number 2...
1.
Is 3.
3.
The magic number, and of course 7 is the top one at number 1. But the study did ask people to describe the numbers between 1 and 10. 2 was thought to be cautious, wise, fragile and sympathetic. How do you think 3 was described?
Nostalgic, sexy, unreliable.
3 is pretentious.
Oh, God.
4, according to the people who responded to the survey, is laid back and a rogue. Yeah, this is absolute bollocks, isn't it?
Nigel Farage.
According to the Daily Telegraph, in musical terms, the song is an unlikely combination of choral and rap, known as crap.
I think I'd rather like that. What? Zadok.
Really good.
You'll never guess what I just imagined. I imagined that was empty.
It's the best reaction I've ever got out of Paul.
You've never said before. Oh, well, that's guaranteed that to be in, otherwise you won't explain this to anybody.
Oh, dear. Fingers on buzzers teams for the next one.
Have they shut the Humber Bridge to stop people going to Hull?
Stop people going to Hull?
Yeah.
They don't want any more tourists. They've got enough.
Maybe they're trying a new slogan, Hull, one letter different from hell.
Could be it, couldn't it?
Well, you're in the right neighbour. Both of you in the right neighbourhood.
John Prescott's from Hull, or he's MP for Hull.
Yeah.
That's why they just close Hull.
Yes. He's not an MP anymore, is he? Other than being... No, he
Member
says...
of the House of Lords.
Oh, right. He's a lord in Hull as well.
Is he the Lord of Hull?
Well, I don't know. I am the Lord of Hull!
It is to do with Hull, but it's actually The Economist magazine. They have a very specific view on Hull.
It should be shut down. Is that what they...
Absolutely right, yes. The Economist magazine thinks that the city should be closed down along with Burnley, Middlesbrough and Hartlepool.
Closed down?
It's closed down.
Why?
The Economist described any efforts to save struggling northern communities as misguided. You lived in Leeds, didn't you?
Yeah, I was born in Leeds.
You were born in Leeds?
Yeah.
Should they close that down?
Leeds is doing very well. It's
Is it doing-
thriving.
Have you heard of Leeds, Ian?
Yes.
Yeah?
There's a football team in Leeds, isn't there?
There is. Leeds United. Yeah.
You see? Local knowledge.
Paul, any view on Leeds?
So good they named it once.
Yes, this is The Economist magazine's plan to shut Hull. Grim, dull and uninspiring. The Economist comes out every week.
Paul and John, here's another for you.
Oh, cricket, obviously, black and white. The Pope. Yes, what's that, the Holy Beach Ball of Lords? What's that? Nuns. At least one of them's a man, I can see from here. The Vatican's got its own cricket team.
It has. Do you know what they're called?
The Angels. The Saints. The Pope's cricket team. The Vatican 11.
They're called the St Peter's Cricket Club. And if you ask for an LBW decision, they'll deny you 3 times, apparently. Yes, get those references in. Yes, sorry, Giles. What does the Pope think of it?
You know, 6-day matches, but never 7.
The Pope is really into football.
He is indeed, as we can see here in this photo. Oh, bollocks, it's not coming. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm being quite unprofessional tonight. It's hormones, everyone. It's not really. I haven't got any hormones in my body anymore, thank God. My husband's pleased. I haven't assaulted him for months. Do you know what Father Theodore Mascarenhas, the Vatican Cricket Club president, had to say? By the way, to give you a clue, he's an Indian spin bowler and he moves the ball in a mysterious way. Sorry. Well, he said, we hope that one day we will be able to translate silly mid-off into Latin. Want to have a crack at that, Giles?
My Latin is terrible. For years, I thought in loco parentis meant my dad's an engine driver.
Julius Caesar used to tell that one.
Oh!
Right, Paul and Marcus.
There's a woman being inflated on the beach.
Yeah, that's the girl who was accused of being a Russian spy because she went out with a politician. They found that she wasn't a Russian spy, she was just a Russian.
Yep, you're quite right.
They thought she was a spy. She used to go into the House of Commons canteen and say, these sausages are rather cold for this time of year. Sort of, you know, the seagull flies high above Krakow. It sounded like secret messages.
I think they actually thought she was a spy because she made a beeline for a member of the Liberal Democratic Party.
So not very well informed, then?
No. They thought, what other reason could there possibly be?
It's phoning the Kremlin going, they are going to make corduroy compulsory.
Indeed, this is Katya Zyteleviter, who had...
I know, you bet you've practised that, haven't you?
Конечно.
Yeah, it was very good.
That's all my Russian.
That's very good. You just learned her name and that was it?
No, конечно. I just said of course.
Of course as well, blimey.
Здравствуйте. Меня зовут Кирсти. Как тебя зовут?
Oh!
Very good.
Very good.
Hold on a minute, I just want to ring MI5.
Yeah, exactly. You're filling for the oldest trick in the book. We invited you onto this show. This show's not going out this week. These are cardboard figures. That's not Giles Brandon, that's a puppet. For the Muppet Show. It was.
Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication Reg Transfers, the magazine for the world of personal number plates. And we start with Simon Cowell reveals what?
Reveals his number plate.
You probably can't see Simon Cowell's number plate for all the cigarette smoke billowing around his pregnant girlfriend. Did you see? There were pictures of... Did you not see that?
Were people smoking?
There's a picture of him in a car, fagging away, pregnant girlfriend in the passenger seat.
Unbelievable. I thought he was evil before, but...
Simon Cowell reveals his baby name choice is Simon.
Oh.
The baby's due in February. Simon Cowell's already got a high chair, some tiny clothes and a booster seat. All he needs now is to get some stuff for the baby. Next, Cornelius Gurlitt has been hiding what?
Is it complete as it is? Just been hiding.
That's the Nazi art.
Masterpieces, yeah.
I will give you that. Cornelius Gurlitt has been hiding secret Nazi art stash.
Yeah.
All the paintings were confiscated in the early 1940s, or as art historians call it, Hitler's angry period. Next, in Essex, we all have what?
Automatic weapons. An intrinsic knowledge of our local area. Personalised number plates.
Personalised plates.
Yeah.
There we are, yes. In Essex, we all have personal plates. I wanted my initials on my car, but I didn't fancy splashing out in a personalised number plate, so I just bought a second-hand AA van. Brilliant. Next, police dogs will receive what?
I know this.
Go on, then.
Pensions. They're going to get pensions.
Pensions?
Absolutely right.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
I can't believe nobody said truncheon meat.
Now, they did. That response is the reason why nobody did.
Next, George W. Bush planning what?
A gallery, an exhibition. He's going to open an exhibition.
Yeah, but that's almost there, yes. He's planning to paint a series of... He's planning to paint a... Oh, Lord.
George W. Bush was planning to paint portrait series
of world
leaders. God, we used to accuse him of not being able to read.
Yeah. According to The Telegraph, he is also known to dabble in landscapes, as the people of Iraq know only too well. And finally, David Suchet admits to what when playing Poirot?
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah. What is it?
Yes, he's got a penny up his arse, hasn't he? So it helps him mince the walk.
Oh, absolutely right, yep. David Suchet admits to clenching a penny between his buttocks when playing Poirot.
Which he learnt from Laurence Olivier.
Yeah.
Who I think had more than pennies up his arse at one stage.
Right down to the line, Godfrey.
I know you won't ask me back.
So at the
Telegraph, thousands of people lining the streets have given the relay a carnival feel. For example, someone dressed as a cod and another as a chip in Falmouth. You Brits really know how to put on a show.
You wait till you see our opening ceremony. Yeah. There'll be hundreds of chips. Six or seven cod. Boris in a giant cod costume.
This is the Olympic torch, which is boldly going where no Olympic torch has gone before. Namely, yes, I agree with you. Namely, Turo and Il Fracum.
Sounds deeply sexual.
Like a cigar advert. Have you been to Il Fracum?
I have.
The place is laced with prostitution.
That's their new slogan now.
That's right. Come and get laid in Il Fracum.
Ian and Max, here's another for you.
Oh, good.
It's a train. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a proper train. That's the two Eds. That's better than one. But not in this case.
It's about investment and infrastructure, yes. Well, you know, they're building this enormous boondoggle up north, Ian, and they're...
Is that a technical term?
Yes, boondoggle. It's economics is called big frickin' waste of money. And, you know, if you really want to connect the country and get the economy going, give everyone free access to broadband.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer to take the train.
You can't get to Birmingham fast enough.
You can in your virtual self.
Impossible.
Yeah, so this is the wise investment / catastrophic waste of billions of taxpayers' money.
Because the Labour Party have decided
Yes.
now, it was their idea originally to do it, but now that the Tories want to do it, they don't want to do it anymore.
And did you hear the actual words of the dire warning from the government about the consequences if Labour do not? And
No, I'd like to hear you say it.
The precise words were years and years of gridlock, weekend cancellations, hellish journeys and replacement bus services. It's just hard to imagine what that would be like, isn't it? Do you know this week's figure of how much it's going to cost?
I think it's 130 zillion.
The government's current budget is 50 billion, although one independent study says it's going to cost 80 billion.
But you've got Mark Carney now as the Bank of England. He can just print it. Just print 80 billion. Just print it. That's fine. That's what he does. That's what he's there for. Print more money. Doesn't matter if it's 100 billion, 200 billion. Just print.
No downside to that?
Well, unless you include inflation. As long as you don't mind paying extra for energy and food, it's okay. Just keep printing money.
OK, let's have the train.
Bail out the bankers. Bail out. Just print money, it's fine. You put the money in the train and take it to Birmingham.
Listen, Max, 1 hour, 20 minutes to Birmingham. It's too long. I want like an hour. Too long. I got stuff to do in Birmingham.
Very busy man.
I got concrete to pour.
Yeah.
Doesn't pour itself, you know.
It doesn't. Pour itself. I don't care how many billions it costs. That shaves 20 minutes off of me getting to Birmingham and pouring concrete.
And so to round two, the strengthometer of news. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Here's the first one.
It's the London Marathon. There was a row with the Guinness Book of Records about whether this nurse should get a record for doing the shortest time dressed as a nurse. And Guinness said she doesn't look like a nurse, because I think the people at Guinness had perhaps been watching different videos of nurses than the training runs now on offer, and she rightly appealed this, and she now is the quickest nurse in the business. I mean, this is your area, so, I mean, you must know.
Well, yes, it is my area, kind of.
You held your
Obviously not running. I did do a walk from Hull to Liverpool for sport relief. Yeah, that was pretty amazing, because that was like 20 miles a day for a week. And they did tell me that I would burn 6,000 calories a day. Unfortunately, I ate 9,000 a day, so... This nurse is called Jessica Anderson, and you were right. She was wearing trousers, OK? As you said, she was ineligible, because that's
she was wearing
not
scrubs,
what...
wasn't
Scrubs,
she?
that's right, yeah. According to Guinness, the guidelines said a proper nurse's uniform should include a pinafore and a cap. When did they write those rules? 1850s? Actually, the Daily Mail helpfully provided us with a photo of a marathon-running nurse that falls within Guinness guidelines. Here we are. What actually made them change their mind about her world record?
Well, didn't she appeal?
She did. She pointed out the inherent sexism, and they released a statement saying, our guidelines were outdated, incorrect, and reflected a stereotype we do not in any way wish to perpetuate, even though they just did. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Am I meant to be doing this again? I've kind of...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we've still got a bit more of this,
Yeah, yeah.
haven't we? Thanks,
Yeah, yeah.
Paul.
No, we like seeing it.
Oh, what? Do you?
Yeah.
Oh,
that was completely out of sync.
Yeah, that was
No, wait.
terrible.
Hang on.
Hang on.
No.
That was quite bad.
That was quite bad. You'd have to do it all again.
This is a shambles.
Hang
We
on.
might as well be
What's going on,
politicians.
Steve? We can't replace her now. What are you talking about? Too late. Put the hammer down.
My husband often says that to me. OK. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
This is a story about someone who stole a piece of Stonehenge. And you'd have thought they would have noticed. I mean, look, there he is.
Yeah.
Wasn't very subtle about it. He kept it and he took it to America, and he's finally returned it because after all these decades, he's got bored of a bit of stone.
His name's Robert Phillips. He stole it in the 1950s when a restoration team drilled metal supports into some of the stones to keep them in position. He's just turned 90. Kept it as a memento. Why is he returning it after 60 years?
Was he sick of cars slowing down in front of his house to have a look?
He was worried about what would happen to it after his death. The sarsen stone... Don't ask me what a sarsen stone is, it just says it's a type
one of the stones. They're different types. The standing ones and sarsen ones.
Top ones.
What a dork.
You're not denying it.
That's a completely different type of stone, which is around the perimeter.
Do you like Stonehenge?
I love Stonehenge. I used to go there when you could go up there and help in the building.
What? And we start with the bigger election stories of the week. Ian and Romesh, take a look at this.
Trying to get out of the country. No, this is the race to get the first result in while people are still awake.
So woman can't count. Just devastated. Ed Miliband looking chilled out.
They're shouting at him.
Oh, so relaxed. You're an immigrant? No.
This is the throne.
The legend.
This way. And it's the winner.
I hate you.
Oh, there's balance. These are all people who've gone. Liberals, Hughes, poor old Danny Alexander.
Have I won?
No. No, he stayed in as punishment. And then it's goodbye. It was quite exciting, because everyone said it was unpredictable, meaning they got it wrong. So we had this exit poll when we came out, which more or less told you what the result would be, which is a Tory win, except they'd understated the win. And then everyone spent the rest of the evening going, well, if this poll's right... Oh, God, it is right.
I'm just going to step to see if the exit poll's right. I know. I've stayed up for no reason. Okay.
They had Paddy Ashdown on at the beginning of the evening saying, if that exit poll's right, I'm going to eat my hat. Typical Lib Dem. The end of the evening, they gave him a hat. Did he keep his promise?
You're absolutely right, Ian.
It was the election.
Yeah, it was.
It was the election.
It was the election.
Oh, I think we've nailed that question.
Now, fingers on buzzers, teams.
This is Jamie Oliver. He's got into trouble because he's come up for a recipe for paella, which the Spaniards don't agree is paella, and so he's got into trouble because of that.
Because he's added chorizo.
Chorizo.
Uh-oh, chorizo.
Yeah.
Bad. I don't know what that is.
Plus, some people don't find it very appetising because it's got a picture of his face right in the middle of it.
Some of the abuse was pretty bad, eh? They said, why don't you go and make chicken nuggets out of your own fingers?
Yeah, a Spanish man, Antonio Villarreal, tweeted, "My version of fish and chips combines aubergine with duck." And one Daily Mail commenter added, "Jamie, I voted for Brexit because you said you would leave the country if we won. Why are you still here?" But why? Why are people so angry?
This is cultural appropriation, which, you know,
But
essentially...
I've had chorizo in paella in Spain. In lots of the... Like,
yeah,
lots
but
of times.
you are not allowed to say this is my recipe for paella because you're not Spanish. Like, if you cook spaghetti bolognese, anyone who cooks it tonight is guilty of cultural appropriation. The only thing we are allowed to cook is fish fingers. That is Britain in Brexit future.
You should just have called it paella a la Gibraltar, and then... No, your wife is Spanish.
Yes.
What would happen if you put a bit of chorizo in the paella?
Oh, well, there are very strict rules of what should and shouldn't go into a paella. And
Finally, something Nick's expert on.
Can anyone tell me what Jamie has named his newborn son?
Is it food-related?
Yeah.
Basil.
Oh,
Non-stick frying pan.
George Foreman.
Ian and Roisin, take a look at this.
Someone being given the bill. Getting a bit of a shock. Oh, it's him. And him saying I didn't have the starter and didn't drink much.
It's David Cameron getting the massive bill when he went to Europe for not turning his data roaming off.
1.7 billion, it's a lot, isn't it? No, he got a shock, because although we know the Prime Minister's absolutely on top of all the detail, no one had told him that he was due to get a £1.7 billion bill, so he had a bit of a fit, and he said, I'm not going to pay it.
You're bang on. Of course, it is the 1.7 billion. It's landed on David Cameron's desk. Why exactly was it sent to us?
It came about because there's an annual recalibration, I think they call it, but they've done it over 11 years, and suddenly the EU says, can you give us 1.7 billion quid? And they were rather shocked.
It feels a little bit like the EU are doing that thing when you go out with someone and they want you to dump them. So they just start behaving really badly and asking for things that are going to annoy you. It's, you know, if you've ever been out with a boyfriend, they're sort of like, oh, I want a threesome and I want 1.7 billion by the 1st of December. So that's what it feels like.
Yeah, I know that so well.
What did he actually say, Cameron, about not paying?
He said, if anyone thinks I'm going to pay this now, he added the now, they've got another thing coming.
Yeah.
Because obviously he'll pay it later. And he got suspicious because Britain has to pay more, but funnily enough, Germany and France have to pay less. I wonder how that came up. And then they said it was because Britain's doing so well, but Greece also had to pay more. I'm not sure about this rationale.
And it's quite a short time span. You know, we should be able to pay off a little bit a month. You know, if you get a massive bill and they sort of go... It's their fault if they sort of... If they haven't charged us enough over 11 years...
Yes, it's Mrs Merkel as Wonga.
It's GDP, isn't it? It's the thing... And one of the complaints is that they've been measuring our GDP in a way that includes... drugs and prostitution.
Yeah.
Which is, if you think, that is a reasonable way of measuring how an economy is doing.
Yeah. Is it?
Because, well, it is, yeah. Because obviously, if a country, there's more disposable income, then they'll spend more on drugs and prostitutes.
Well, for a lot of people, Andy, those are necessities.
Well, that's why Italy's GDP is so low, because once you factor out Berlusconi, there's...
If, as a result of his presidency, the world does indeed end, won't it be marvellous to think it happened in our time?
He might change what the word presidential means. Like, in a few years, you'll be going, oh, my uncle fell over and banged his head on a curb. He's been rendered completely presidential.
He dismissed the head of the FBI this week.
Comey, James Comey?
Mr. Comey was dismissed.
Comey over.
Because he was...
investigating his connections with Russia.
And now there's an inquiry. Who's been put in charge of the inquiry?
They've got a special prosecutor.
A former
Yeah,
head of
former
the
FBI.
FBI.
And then when you open up that special prosecutor, there'll be another little special prosecutor. And open up, there'll be another one. There'll eventually be a little bloke saying, "Did you do it?"
He's Robert Mueller, who was the former FBI director. James Comey's done something to get his revenge on Trump. Any idea
He has
what it is?
produced his memo.
Oh,
he
yes,
kept
he
a memorandum.
didn't he?
Yes. After Trump tweeted that he had kept, or suggested he might have kept a recording of the dinner that took place in February, Comey then came back to say, well, I kept a memorandum.
And he said, will you drop the Russian stuff? So basically, he accused him of literally trying to interfere in the process of justice. And the Americans don't like that very much. So it is all going wrong.
Yeah.
And then the best bit was Putin, who was like, oh, if you want the transcript, we've got one.
How did Trump's administration respond to Comey's leak?
With confusion.
With incredible confusion. According to online news website Daily Beast, one official said, I felt like running down the hallway with a fire extinguisher.
Because last week we weren't on because it was children with knees. And we had... but I obviously have not read a paper, so this just sounds all so absurd.
Oh, there's more.
Is there more?
Yeah, Trump's proposed to the Queen.
Oh, God.
And she's accepted, and the wedding is next year. They're going to have it in Trump Tower. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh, I look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm best man.
Are you?
He hasn't actually appointed him. I mean,
but via Twitter. I mean, that's real, isn't it?
the president isn't actually allowed to appoint our ambassador yet.
No, no. Thankfully
not on Twitter. If he does it on Facebook, it's legally binding.
So it was a late-night tweet from Trump. Do you remember roughly what it said?
It said that many people think that Nigel Farage would make an excellent ambassador between the UK and the US, or
That's
something
many
along
in the
those
sense of one.
I responded to Donald Trump and I said, name them.
This is exactly what he said. Many people would like to see Nigel Farage represent Great Britain as their ambassador to the United States. He would do a great job.
Donald Trump doesn't even follow Nigel Farage on Twitter, which is a massive digital slap in the face.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, he doesn't even follow him, so he doesn't think he's that great a job. He doesn't think he's got top pants online.
Do you know what?
Can anyone remember? You remember Christopher Mayer, who was Tony Blair's ambassador to the US?
Yeah.
Do you remember what his instruction was?
Yeah. Get as drunk as possible and then avoid everybody.
It was pretty nearly that.
Was it?
He was told to get as far up George Bush's arse as you can.
It was exactly... We want you to go...
Is he allowed to use crampons? Is he?
We want you to get up the arse of the White House and stay there. So that's the brief. Actually, maybe Nigel Farage is qualified.
Well, Blair did it himself. He didn't actually need an ambassador.
Now, who'd like to see a picture of Farage, quite possibly the happiest moment in his life? I think that's the door into Trump Tower.
It is fantastic. Have you seen the pictures of inside? It's sort of late Gaddafi, the Perhaps early Saddam, but it's a riot of vulgar dictator chic. It is.
Meanwhile, how is Theresa May's special relationship with Trump coming along?
Very good. Very good. He said to her, if you're ever over, do drop in.
Let me know.
Made that up. That was it.
If you're coming over, let me know. That's what you say to the couple you don't like on holiday, isn't it?
Did you watch the debate last night?
Yes, I did. It was great. It was No. You caught me out mid-lie, mid-question. No, I didn't see it. No. Was it good?
So am I the only one who could bear to watch?
Yes.
Well, it was great.
What was your favourite bit, Ian?
The bit at the beginning when you realised Cameron hadn't turned up. That was very good. And then Clegg hadn't come either.
Yeah.
So it meant that everyone attacked Ed Miliband. He'd managed to get a platform where all the other people could say, you're useless. And he couldn't say it's the Tories' fault because they weren't there. So it was a slightly unbalanced debate.
But what do you think about David Dimbleby's frank confession at the end? I mean, did you guess?
Ill-advised.
Ill-advised, yeah. I agree,
Even though we didn't see all of the debate, let's have a look at the highlights.
There just seems to be a total lack of comprehension on this panel, and indeed amongst this audience, which is a remarkable audience, even by the left-wing standards of the BBC. I mean, this lot's pretty left-wing.
Hang on a second.
But very interesting.
Hang on a second.
When you talk
Nigel,
about
let me
housing,
just say one thing.
Yeah.
This is an audience that has been carefully chosen, not
Very
by the
carefully.
BBC, not by the BBC, but by an independent polling organisation to represent the balance between all parties.
Never a great
So,
very good.
very good.
Very good.
It's a very good tactic. Attack your audience.
Was it a wise move to pick a fight with David Dimbleby?
And the BBC and the BBC audience. He's been a bit rattled, isn't he? 12 months ago, he was seen as this sort of man that was going to remake English politics and all this sort of stuff, and now he's just some bloke moaning that everybody's against him.
Who would you rather have a fight with, John? David Dimbleby or Jeremy Paxman?
Glass jaw, Dimbleby.
No, I think that...
He goes straight down. Paxman, he'd be like a bulldog. You'd have to shoot him in the end. He'd keep coming. And another thing, Prime Minister.
Right, and that welcome interruption means it's time once again for a bonus buzzer election round, so let's get started. And the category is... Where am I? Where am I? I'm UKIP parliamentary candidate for Birmingham, Harjinder Singh, but where am I?
He's in the street.
He's in the street.
Well, he is, of course, standing near junction 7 of the M6. He's waving at passing cars. He's been doing this 13 hours a day for the last 2 weeks in a bid to win votes. Locals in a nearby pub were asked if they were going to vote for UKIP. What did they all reply?
No.
No! There we are. Fingers on buzzers. Here is your next question.
Are we allowed to do jokes about UKIP? I thought we'd been referred to the Kent police.
Yeah, after last week's show.
And the police were very rightly quite surprised. Usually they're investigating UKIP, not following up complaints. But anyway, well, I hope we're going to be jolly careful, because it's the Representation of the People's Act. So if you make jokes about Farage or UKIP, they could well complain.
Well, he's already threatening the BBC, isn't he, to slash the licence fee as a revenge for that audience on the opposition.
But it's funny when anyone says that, you know, there were some pretty racist jokes made at, say, the UKIP gala. He says, oh, it was a joke, we're going to have censorship now. I think the Kent police are going to be round again.
Yeah.
Next, here's UKIP parliamentary candidate for the West Midlands, Claire Braund. Can you tell me what happened next?
Did she start singing, Let It Go, Let It Go?
You are so close. I mean, that is almost exactly right. Yes, let's... No. Let's just have a look.
This is the rhythm of the night. Oh, yeah. The rhythm of the night. This is the rhythm of my life. My life. Oh, yeah. The rhythm of my life.
Why?
Why? Ian? That's a no from me.
Ian.
At last, something I know about. This is Nando's.
Well done.
Yes, but I bet you don't know where it is. That's got him.
There was a survey done in Preston. Did you read this? What's the favourite restaurant of people in Preston?
Yes.
And the answer was Nando's.
Yeah.
Obviously. And after that, it said, what's the favourite pub? And it's Wetherspoons.
Who was specifically annoyed that the award went to Nando's, though?
Some other people who own restaurants?
Yeah. It was the guy who came second. He's got an independent restaurant. Mark O'Rourke, he's called. He told The Times, it just makes Preston look bad, adding, not that it isn't anyway. It's not a crown jewel of the Northwest. Do you know what his restaurant was called? It's a burger bar, and yes, it's a pun.
I can't believe it's not Nando's.
No, any other guesses?
Bugger-me burgers.
The Burgers of Calais.
Right, I'm going to put you out
Is
of
it
your
a
misery.
Rodin pun?
Yeah.
They'll get there.
It's named We Don't Give a Fork. The awards organiser, Mark Whittle, defended the wins for Nando's and Wetherspoons, saying, "It's good to recognise them publicly. They are the very reason many people visit Preston." Why else might people visit Preston?
The other thing I know about Preston is its pioneering economic model as a way to deal with economic depression rather than having council services run by big corporations. They decided to give all their council contracts to local business and cooperatives, and it's actually done a lot to regenerate the region. So,
do you know what? The Preston PR team are going to be so happy with you.
I'm actually on that payroll.
Yeah, because it's not that at all. It's Preston resident Diane Fisher wrote to the Times comments section to say it has a smashing bus station. Yeah, have a look at it though, it is lovely.
Whoa.
Yeah. Underlying its status as a culinary hotspot, what was Preston the first place in Britain to have?
Burger King.
No.
KFC.
Yes. In 1965, Preston became the first place in Britain to have a Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never been.
It's a reason to go, though.
Yeah.
Put it on your bucket list.
Finally,
Yeah.
why has whole earth peanut butter been taken off supermarket shelves?
Because it's not what it says it is.
It's because its ingredients label says it contains walnuts, but accidentally they've written that in Dutch. So people might not be able to tell there's walnuts in it. Does anybody know what the Dutch is for walnut?
Hofmeister.
Walnut.
Walnut.
You can see the problem, can't you?
Yeah, that could confuse a stupid person.
At the end of Wayne Hennessy if he's got a walnut allergy.
On the subject of food, what were the Germans astonished by? And
What, this week?
Yes.
Something that we eat that they find astonishing.
Well, something that that David Cameron ate. I'm going to attempt my
haggis
best German accent.
Oh,
now.
okay, go on then.
I've never taken a lesson of German, so this is probably offensive.
Yeah. Right. Just think of it as an audition.
Thanks.
Next.
Wahlkampf in Großbritannien. David Cameron isst Hotdog mit Besteck. Shocking.
Just bring it down a bit.
Okay. Gott in Himmel, Cameron isst einen Hotdog mit Messer und Gabel. Türfel. So that translates loosely as Cameron eats a hot dog with a knife and fork, which was something that he did this week, which...
Oh, yeah, because he was scared of the whole bacon sandwich thing, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten anything with your hands, Ian?
Yes, I believe I ate an apple. And he said he didn't say it, and then the policeman came out and said he won't answer the question. But he had a tape going in which he said, I admit I swore, and I'm sorry about that.
He was wearing a wire. And the feds didn't realise. He turned the tables against them. Well, how long did the original incident actually last, the actual incident?
45 seconds.
45 seconds. And so far it's cost...
£250,000
Yes, it has. Yes.
to investigate.
Can we get the Chinese pay for that?
160 million people in China watched it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But they must really not have liked him. There must have been a build-up of animosity towards him.
Yeah, do you think he'd ridden up to the gates most days and said, open it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe...
Clapping his hands. Open, come on! Bike here, eco!
You know, it's a terrible dilemma. Do you believe a Tory member of the cabinet or a policeman? You know, public's got a real problem here.
Police whistleblower has actually come forward. You mentioned that.
They're all
about talking about a
whistleblowers,
result.
They're all whistleblowers, they all blow whistles.
I don't think they do
anymore.
do this.
OK, logically it doesn't work.
mobile phone. When this show began, you could have done that joke. I don't mean today, I mean 20 years ago.
I felt tense because you went very quiet. I thought, oh, God, I've cut across a friend of Tom Cruise's.
But, well, a whistleblower has come forward with the result of a plot to get Mitchell. And he says that Mitchell had a row at the gates the previous evening as well, after which one of the officers had said, right, we can stitch him up. I love the idea that they actually said it like you would in the Beano.
Well, he said Margaret Thatcher did great hurt to the British people, although not as much as all those bombs, eh, Jerry? All right, Jerry, any time! Straight between your gizzard!
I thought we'd politically moved on from issuing threats to former members of the IRA.
Well, the BBC also interviewed Maggie's biggest fan and disciple, Tony Blair. Did you see his tribute? He said, very few leaders get to change the landscape of not just their own country, but of the world. I mean, well, he certainly changed the landscape of Baghdad. I'm sorry, Tony, I'm sorry about that, because he had a heart operation, you know, once he had aberration.
Well, he had one put in.
Did he have one put in? He did. And now, Lord Howe of Aberavon was asked... I'm not going to say that again.
Yeah, go on.
I'm not, Aberavon...
It sounds like you're drowning in a bath.
was asked by Sky for his thoughts on his time in Thatcher's cabinet. And he said it was a long time ago. Well, yes, that's the idea when someone dies, Geoffrey. A bit of reminiscing about old stuff. Come on, shape up!
I think you're in safer ground attacking Geoffrey Howe than you were with Jerry Adams.
Did you hear about Julian Stiles? According to the Mirror, Julian, 58, was made redundant from his factory job in 1984. I've been waiting for that witch to die for 30 years, he said. Tonight is party time. I'm drinking one drink for every year I've been out of work. 30 years? Without a job? Pull your finger out, Julian, you lazy bastard! I'll kill you, you bastard!
Let's abandon this show. Brian says, who wants a fight? Line up in alphabetical...
I'm not in touch with Vivienne Westwood.
Right.
Though I did get married in Vivienne Westwood, so...
Did you?
You know, yeah. Not
What, inside her?
Karen Brady, off of The Apprentice, was at the Tory party conference. What was she wearing? I mean, what was she there for?
Oh, yes. Well, I can tell you what she was wearing.
Okay, you can say
it was
what
one
you...
of those body what's-it illusion dresses that makes you look half the size you are.
Yes, a
Is that
bodycon
That's
dress.
the one. Yeah.
Yes.
Heard of that.
Well,
Sounds good.
Really good, yeah. Try one next time.
I will, yeah.
Not that I'm saying you need to.
No, not saying I want to. But I will.
We can have a look at Karen Brady's bodycon dress. If you believed the bodycon there, you'd just call an ambulance, wouldn't you? Yes. Brady was there to introduce George Osborne. Do you know how she did that?
George Osborne.
Bill Clinton did Tony Blair once.
Really?
I mean, introduced him.
Get your wife to do it now. That's the other thing at the conference.
Say,
I think
you're the
after
hero.
Justine's performance in the Ed Miliband show, no wife is going to do it again, are they? Did anyone
She
see
was
that?
told to kiss him.
Oh, yeah, and she has to do it.
Well,
not even prostitutes have to kiss. And there was also a spectre at the feast at the Tory conference. Do you know who that was?
Oh, Nigel Farage.
Yes, and I suppose the ghost of Margaret Thatcher was probably
because she was
there.
invoked, wasn't she?
Was she?
The mummy.
They did a
return.
séance.
Anyway, he turned up, didn't he?
Yes, he turned up in Manchester to address a lunatic fringe... Sorry, Freudian slip. A fringe meeting. Here he is arriving.
Do you expect a warm welcome at the Tory conference?
No.
That's the spirit.
It's time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, Ratitude. The magazine of the North of England Rat Society. For northerners who don't find pigeons dirty enough. And we start with, Putin is what, says author?
Great bloke and I want to live.
Yeah. Is it gay?
The answer is latently gay, says author. A new biography of Vladimir Putin speculates that he might be latently gay. The biographer is not the first to make this claim. The idea that President Putin is latently has been put forward by a number of recently deceased psychologists. Next, chimps take what?
Is it the fucking piss?
The answer is chimps take their owners to court.
No, they don't.
This is the story of a court case in New York in which 4 chimpanzees are seeking to be recognised as humans. The complexities of the chimpanzees' case have left legal experts scratching their heads, rubbing their asses on ropes and eating things from behind each other's ears. Next, from a rat PR point of view, what was very negative?
The bubonic plague.
No, it's the name Red-Eyed Devil. Next, Chinese girl had what in her ear?
British Prime Minister talking patronisingly. Got a flower in her head.
It was a fully grown dandelion. A doctor tried to remove it by blowing, but all that happened was he found out it was 3 o'clock. Next, what was high at Thirsk Rat Show?
Sexual tension.
The body count. It was an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah. The safety officer. Looks all right to me. Just duck the rats on it. Good stuff.
The overall standard of ears was... Next, clown epidemic what?
Relatively easy to spot.
Clown epidemic in Norfolk, warned police. Police in Norfolk have warned of an epidemic of people dressed as clowns. Clowns are actually fairly easy to capture because they tend to have extremely unreliable getaway cars. Finally, what can add an element of aggression into the relationship which can backfire?
Drunken fighting amongst priests. You bastard! You can't have a wedding.
It's shouting at a rat. What? The last time I had a rat backfire was when I stuck a firework up it. I'm just joking, obviously. It was a kitten.
What bit did the BBC get wrong?
This idea... so I run a company that trains veterans to go into cyber employment.
Yeah.
And 4 companies away from that, there's a company that's gone bust.
Yeah, it's not many companies. It's quite a big company. 4 people being arrested. Big story.
It's a big story, but it's got nothing to do with me.
You never...
Well, of course not.
Not
Why would I have
interested
anything
in
to
who
do with
provided your
financial
£85,000 salary?
Yes, and it was provided through business in that company that company generated. That
How
had
does
nothing
training
to do with us,
veterans
yeah.
make enough money to earn you 85
Because if you train them in cyber security, and they have specialist skills, they go into FTSE 100 companies and they earn quite a lot of money in cyber security. I sound like a right bastard, don't I, doing this whole sort of veterans employment thing?
No, it's not the veterans bit. It's the £85,000 for a 4-hour job.
I know. I know what you're thinking because you're
I'm thinking, why don't you do it for free?
I know, because you get 20 grand for 2 hours tonight, don't you?
Yeah, but the people who've lost money out of this company are very cross with you. It's about your behaviour and the fact that you didn't know and didn't ask as a non-executive director, where does the money come from for this
I did
company?
ask where it came from, and it came from the business that's generated by the business that we do.
They were providing the money that kept your company going.
No,
and
they
you
didn't.
were a non-exec.
No, they didn't. That's why the BBC are being sued for libel, because no money went from that company into Crucial Academy.
But it did, though.
OK, well, you can keep saying that, but it really didn't. It
No,
still
no,
didn't.
I'm just saying the chain...
This is one for Judge Rindo, I think.
Yeah. I am merely trying to establish the facts. You say you're going to sue the BBC for reporting a story that everybody else has run, and you say that's not how the money got there.
I am absolutely sure that not a single penny has come from LCF and gone into Crucial Academy. If it has,
Well,
I
it
would
hasn't
leave.
gone directly in. It's gone in through a series of
No,
other companies.
directly or indirectly. If it had, I would leave. Any
All
more?
right, well, we'll see what happens.
This is like all of my Christmas dinners with my family.
Remember Anne Widdecombe?
I'm I'm sorry, David, it's a big story. 4 people were arrested, and I know you think that your political enemies have smeared you with this story, but
No, I don't.
there.
No, I don't.
It's in the news.
No, I don't think that. I don't think they have smeared me with this story.
But you have accused the Deputy Chief Whip of trying to dig up dirt.
The Deputy Chief Whip has decided to go and ask friends of mine that I served with in the military whether or not things in my book were correct. And obviously I found out, wasn't overly pleased. That book was signed off by the parents of individuals who were killed in that war and who fought with me and my soldiers, but obviously not good enough for the Deputy Chief Whip. And when I confronted him about it, he claimed that was his job, to kick the tyres. And when I spoke to my friend, who he had actually spoken to, he hadn't done anything like that at all. He'd tried to get some dirt and blackmail me to vote for the Prime Minister's deal in January.
That's why they did it, to try and force your vote?
Yeah.
Right.
Nice place, politics.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, why did I sign up?
Why did you?
Yeah.
Like Anne Widdecombe. Remember her?
Jeremy, what's his name, came to see one of my shows in Edinburgh a couple of years ago. I remember my audience wouldn't deliberately mislead anybody. So I'm quite willing to believe everything he says.
So that's you and David Cameron.
Yes. If the Prime Minister thinks he's OK, that's good enough for me. I'm quite naive about these things.
Well, the Prime Minister's had a very good track record.
Yes.
I mean, Andy Coulson was OK.
Yes, he was all right, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Till he wasn't.
Until he wasn't.
Yeah. So what's your reading of the situation, Mr Hislop?
Do you know...
What?
I don't think the government come out very well out of this. It does appear that they were so far up Mr Murdoch's bottom, you couldn't see any of their heads. This is the Leveson inquiry, and it was a shocking day. Mr Hunt was the Culture Secretary. He was in charge of the bid for B-Sky B, and yet his office was giving information all the way through to the Murdochs.
I mean, why hasn't he gone? It's morally bankrupt.
Well, he's there as a firewall, isn't he? If he goes, then Mr Cameron is looking very shaky.
It's like that thing of when everybody gets annoyed with each other and they end up kicking the dog. I mean, James Hunt has dismissed his private advisor.
James Hunt? The former racing driver? Why am I asking this man? Why am I asking him? He's got no idea. He's mixed up 4 million other racing drivers with the Culture Secretary. Mind you, if you're going to get his name wrong, it's better to get his first name wrong rather than his second name.
I think I was trying hard not to get his second name wrong. Consistent with the 70s.
You're all right in the zone. This is the news that the Leveson inquiry has finally perked up at long last, and everyone is...
finally perked up. There have been some notably excellent witness statements.
You turned up there, didn't you? You were in a very happy position of having nothing to hide.
Yeah, but I had no idea it was going to get this good. Murdoch today, selective amnesia, fabulous. You know, the medics must be having a field day. Can you remember anything about phone hacking? No. Can you remember how badly all the politicians have behaved? Yeah, I bloody well can.
And Nancy, how they look at this?
That's a Tory MP.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell they're all like that. That's a Labour MP.
Yeah.
That's Tom Watson. Oh, Murdoch's been arrested. He's in the slammer. Bye-bye. And they can't bear to look.
Because
it's
they
so
can't bear
sad.
to look. Yes, they are very sad.
So that's it. Big news. Murdoch's inside. And he's...
Not strictly true.
No, it isn't, is it? I was suddenly in the world of fantasy. There's been a select committee, and they delivered their report. And they said that Murdoch was willfully blind. And they said his son was willfully ignorant about the phone hacking and what was going on in News International. So it was a really bad day for the Murdochs.
Yeah, I think there are some important questions to be answered by all of Rupert Murdoch's employees.
I think there are.
Yeah, so here we go. What do you think about it, Jeremy? Well, I think as a Sun journalist, it's just a lot of stuff and nonsense and a storm in a teacup. So there we are, moving on. Paul?
I thought you were talking to me there when you said, what do you think, Jeremy? I thought you just forgot my name.
You're not the only Sun journalist. Nancy writes for The Sun.
On the Sunday, a column about fashion. Now, I can't believe myself when I accepted.
You shocked yourself, did you?
Actually, I shocked myself many times. So, yes, every day, even a shock was there when I walked in the mirror in the morning. I can surprise I'm getting beautiful and beautiful every day. So,
Have any English guests on this?
Now, don't start. Do you need an interpreter?
Yeah.
OK, I'll translate. Nancy
Right.
was really ashamed of herself for taking money from Murdoch.
Yeah.
Is that not it? You know, there's a shortage of court interpreters in this country. I think I might apply.
Why do you think you speak the perfect English?
Do I think I speak perfect English? These things are relative. But I don't speak 5 languages, unlike you, so,
Thank you.
I'm just trying to be helpful.
Stop flirting! You did actually once say, didn't you, that any man who doesn't flirt with you must be gay?
Yes, I said.
Ian, you passed.
Look at the top pledge on the top. We will invade Iraq against the wishes of the people of Britain.
Yeah, but it was Miliband who stopped the invasion into Syria. That's something for him, isn't it? I haven't heard you say much about that.
No, because I'm more interested in the previous one, which
well,
you
were
involved
wrong.
in.
And we made it clear that so. We made a mistake, there's no doubt about that. But give Miliband the credit for stopping us doing the same thing with Syria.
OK,
because Cameron was about to get to do it with the Americans.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that, and Obama
You just
took
don't work
the hint.
about it or talk about it. Anyway, that's the difference between us.
Yeah.
Should we start again?
But you say
I don't think so.
that the manifesto will only just come out, so the candidate can't be expected to know what's in it. Is the manifesto meant to be a massive surprise to Labour candidates?
No, but when you get... Well, in our party, you have to get it through the National Executive, and we have a policy making for the manifesto. You don't know necessarily what's coming through. I think some great things have come through, particularly when we're dealing with the Leveson report and what are we going to do about making the press more accountable.
Yes,
That's quite important.
You're going to legislate, aren't you?
What we said about that, we will carry out what Leveson said. We wait to see the press...
Leveson said nothing about a royal charter. He didn't mention it.
I would have thought you, as a journalist, might find that's an important point.
No, as a journalist, it's an unimportant point.
Oh, blimey, in private eye, you're sued every day, for God's sake, for what you say about people.
No, we're not. And certainly not about you. I know you've got problems with the press and your private life, John.
I think the last time you raised it, you got the same move. Why don't you be more specific and say it? Usually straightforward in private eye. What's your complaint?
OK, you're very, very unhappy about the press's intrusion into your private life, because they revealed you were having an affair with Tracy Temple.
All.
And it was very embarrassing for you.
No, it wasn't.
God, it wasn't embarrassing.
No, I made a mistake. I owned up to it publicly, and I was waiting for this one to come from you.
You didn't own up to it publicly. You were revealed as doing it.
Hey,
I've got an idea.
I did it at the Labour conference. Didn't you watch that?
You two find a room, and whoever comes out alive is the winner.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
That's a death stare. You gave me a death stare.
It depends who's ordering the room service, I suppose, doesn't it, John?
This is like a terrible family Christmas.
Ritual is so... I mean, what are the benefits of joining this club? I mean, what do you get? 10% off sports equipment? I mean, what's the great club that you have to stick your cock in a dead pig's mouth to become a member?
Ian, you used to be a member, didn't you?
There's a hesitation.
No, I wasn't a member. It says I was a member on Wikipedia.
No, that's what they all say.
Yeah, which is quite embarrassing, given I spent half the week with tabloid journalists ringing me up saying, have you
placed your chap
Clarkson in a receptacle? Anyway, no, I was not a member of the Piers Gaveston Society. I was a member of the Piers Morgans.
I won't ask what the ritual was to get into that club.
Did you know people who were, though? Is that the sort of thing they did?
Yeah, no. I mean, they
yes,
threw...
yes, no. Your final 2 words on the subject. Yes, no.
He asked me 2 questions. He said, did you know people who were there?
Yes.
And then he asked another question. So I said, yes, I did know people.
Yes.
No, I didn't, which is sort of my answer.
Yeah. I thought I was the one that was going to get a hard time tonight, and it turns out Ian is. Right, yes. This is...
Is that it? We're going to just leave it alone? Lord Ashcroft getting this amazing story into the public domain via the Daily Mail.
I don't think it's even a story. It's a fantasy.
It's an act of amazing revenge by the Mail in cohorts with Lord Ashcroft, which the whole country has decided to believe. Usually a story in the Daily Mail, peddled by a non-dom Tory peer who gave 8 million quid to the Tory party and is in a strop because he wasn't made Defence Secretary, would be laughed out of court. Well, it's not in court yet, but I was hoping it might. But no, we've all taken this seriously, and there's the grinning Lord Ashcroft, who, I mean, you know, if you want to talk about members inserted into, you know, the House of Lords, there he is. I mean, it's a disgraceful story. This man, Lord Ashcroft, who gave the Tories all this money, thought he could get himself into the cabinet, thought he could buy himself a cabinet post. And everybody's gone along with this, saying, oh, great, Lord Ashcroft. I mean, he's a non-dom. If we're doing prick jokes, let's have a condom joke. And if you want something disgusting the Prime Minister's done, I mean, you know, there's loads of it. Bedroom tax would be a good start. There's plenty of these things, and everyone goes around saying, oh, it's about a pig when he was 20. Well, how about being really appalling when he was 50?
There is still only a 1 in a million chance of dying from a vaccine-related blood clot. As you say, it's incredibly rare, but...
the real danger is surely that politicians are looking at the facts and then changing their minds and changing the policies to do something sensible. And if that catches on, I think we're in for a terrible, terrible shock.
Are you still being light, Ian? Is this you being light?
Yeah, this is me being light. This is me being uppy.
The jazz hands were missing when you said...
Oh, sorry, no, because I haven't washed them.
I like the way it turned into a contest between all the ministers about other things that are incredibly risky. Like, they could all name things that are like, oh, it's much worse to go upstairs, or much worse to take the contraceptive pill, something you'd think Boris Johnson would be more aware of.
And they keep analysing the risk. They say it's the equivalent of driving for 250 miles. I mean, that's all the way to Durham.
I've had my vaccine, right? I'm a little bit annoyed because I genuinely didn't feel a thing. And there was me saying, oh, thank you very much, it's brilliant. And on the way out, I thought, well, how do I know they've actually done it? I didn't have a sore arm, I didn't have any side effects at all. As far as they could have been taking the piss. I just thought, well, they're low on doses. If we don't like the look of him, let's not give him an injection.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've had nothing. I might not have, but I've been told I have. See...
I knew you'd find a miserable angle.
Did they give you a little sticker, at least?
I wanted an I've been brave sticker. I think that would have been good. That would have sort of, you know... Obviously, there were 4 of them holding me down at the time.
And we start with the bigger stories of the week.
Yeah, great.
George Osborne. Oh, it's just handsome hunks Friday.
This is the autumn statement, which was quite cheery. George Osborne announced that it's not as bad as you think. It's worse. It's just so gloomy, it's unbelievable. Everything's up. Misery, austerity, poverty.
Yes.
It sort of makes you yearn for when people said, no, things are going to get better and it'll be all right. He just said, no, it's terrible. Until 2018, it's just awful.
Yeah. He should have just thrown his paper and gone, F it, why bother?
So that's his prediction, is it?
No, no,
Just...
he's changed his predictions. His previous predictions, unfortunately, weren't true. Or didn't come true. Yeah. And his new predictions are much more realistic.
Are they?
Yeah, he says it's going to be really awful.
He says there'll be negative growth for the end of 2012, which means it's a triple-dip recession.
Ooh.
Sounds like a delicious ice cream.
But we have got growth. We've got the Duchess of Cambridge. She's having growth on our behalf.
And she will be a beacon in my life.
A beacon of hope.
As I see my pension fund I started now worth 3 peanuts and a bauble. You know, as I slowly rot in my
You're
shed.
not going to slowly rot in a shed.
Those are comforting words as we approach Christmas.
There's always someone worse off than yourself.
Yes.
It is, yeah.
As the Queen often reflects. What did Ed Balls say about all this?
He got it all wrong, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
I didn't see it myself, but he sort of got the opening phrases all a bit wrong and it all collapsed a little bit.
Yes, he said the national deficit is not rising, is rising, it's not falling.
Yeah. That was his zinger against the government. And they just sat there and they laughed at him.
But then there was discussion about whether all this wasn't down to his stammer.
He said, it makes it much worse when people shout at me.
It's so stressful and difficult, isn't it? All
It
the
is.
numbers and adding it up, and is it going up or going down, and who should we tax? And then people are shouting at you. It's very unfair on poor old Ed Balls, and it's been months since he's managed to find time to buy some sausage rolls for himself. You know...
And he's got a terrible job because he's been saying, look, we don't need to, you know, cut the debt this fast. And the government's going, no, we haven't cut it because we're useless. So he has to get up and say, you haven't.
You failed to do the thing I told you would be a disaster if you did it. And it's a disaster.
Yeah. No wonder he stammered.
It's basically very sporting of him on the day that George Osborne gets up and shows himself to be an idiot who knows nothing, to say, I'll join in with you, George, and seem like the alternative is possibly worse.
Blimey, students, they've woken up. They've been told that the teaching budget's been cut, they're going to have to pay 3 times as much and pay it back for the rest of their lives, and they're thinking, I'm not sure I approve of that.
A student was interviewed and said, and I quote, "There's no jobs out there, and now they're asking us to pay 9 grand a year, which if you do 3 years, that's like 21 grand."
Of course, the Lib Dems were staunchly saying, of course, they wouldn't go up, which is great that they got in power and put it up.
Yeah.
Well, they had no idea they were going to be in power when they...
Well, they could have
when they made these promises.
Nick Clegg keeps saying it's the right government for the right time, which I think is such a seedy way to sort of dignify opportunism. You know, he would have made a pact with the Klingons if it meant a sniff of cow.
I don't know. I think the Klingon manifesto was pretty good.
I'm going to disagree here because the Klingons have shown in the past that they're hell-bent on world domination, so I'm glad the Liberal Democrats are in there with them.
And the Klingons always get the Lib Dems to make the policy announcements.
Absolutely.
They're going to blow up a whole planet. They say, oh, get the Lib Dem to announce it.
The Lib Dem party in this arrangement is the equivalent of the guy you see on Star Trek walking around the planet who you've never seen before, is the first one to get killed. That's the Liberal Democrats in this arrangement.
But how does Nick Clegg look at himself in the mirror in the mornings?
Just looks at David Cameron and sees the same thing.
Oh, America?
Yes, of course. They've just had these mid-term elections. There's Sarah Palin, Ian's favourite. And then there's Obama, the president, who is not doing very well at the moment. The American people, 1 in 4 think he's Muslim, 1 in 10 think he's a terrorist. 1 in 50 think he's a holiday they took in Mexico in 1968.
In the last US election, it was hockey moms. Who are the rabid right-wing Republican banshees these days? What are they called now?
Mama Grizzlies.
Mama Grizzly and the Tea Party.
Sarah Palin said Mama Grizzlies are ordinary people with common sense who just kind of know when something is wrong.
That's good.
When she was nominated for vice president, the head of the Republican Party in Alaska was asked what her qualifications for high office were. And he paused, and she said, she's the right age, and she's an American citizen.
She gave a radio interview. The host said, how would you handle a situation like the one that just developed in North Korea? Palin, obviously we've got to stand with our North Korean... to which the host replied, South Korean. Yeah, said Palin.
How's Bill Clinton been helping out?
Oh, God, has he been campaigning for them? Is that what they've lost so badly? It's that awful moment when Neil Kinnock says, I support you as a candidate.
I think he'd be good for them, wouldn't he, though?
Do you? You liked him? You liked Bill Clinton?
I thought he seemed like a very nice man.
Did you meet him?
I have met him once, actually, yes.
Was he at one of your concerts?
No, he wasn't. He made me feel very special. He came...
Did you keep the dry cleaning receipt?
On the eve of the election, Bill Clinton made his own contribution to the campaign. According to The Times, Mr. Clinton went through 9 different states, including arousal, ecstasy, exhaustion and guilt.
Time for the odd one out round. Paul and Bernard, Antigone, Samuel Pepys, Bernard Cribbins, and some Franciscan monks in Leicester.
Antigone, I don't know anything about it.
I did the play once.
Something to do with your career, Bernard.
Storytelling?
Storytelling.
No. Well, we'll keep going.
We know it. It's to do with holes and burying.
Ah.
Because hole in the ground.
Bernard did a song called Hole in the Ground.
Hole in the ground, yeah.
How did it go?
There I was, a digging his hole, hole in the ground, so big as all around he was, and there was I. It was Noel Coward's favourite when he did Desert Island Discs. And he said, if you could only have one record, Mr. Coward, which would you take? He said, I'd take Mr. Cribbins doing Hole in the Ground. Why? I could translate it into French as I walked up and down the beach.
True. It's about burying, because Antigone was trying to bury her brother. And her uncle wouldn't let her.
The lesson must be the Richard III burial.
They want to bury him, or they did bury him.
Or they buried him in a car park.
What we're looking for is an odd one out.
So they've all buried things.
Yeah. They all put stuff in a hole in the ground, apart from Bernard, who just sang about it.
I actually put a man in there.
Oh, OK, so Samuel Pepys.
There's a clue.
Because it wasn't a man, it was cheese.
Yes.
Yeah.
They all buried someone apart from Samuel Pepys, who buried his cheese, and that's not a euphemism.
His cheese.
Well done.
And Right Said Fred...
Right Said Fred, that finished with somebody getting squashed as well.
Did you have any hits not involving fatalities?
No, there were a couple of hymns, but...
In Greek mythology, Antigone buried her dead brother. And how's the story end, Ian?
Badly. It's a Greek tragedy, everyone dies.
Yeah. So Antigone was sentenced to death to be buried alive.
Yeah, not good.
So she hung herself.
Yeah, and then Bernard did a really funny song about it.
Stop hanging about, Antigone. You're making a mess on the floor.
We just cleaned up last Saturday. We don't want to do it no more.
Tony Gibbon.
Because they've all buried someone, apart from Samuel Pepys, who buried his cheese to save it from the Great Fire of London. The monks who buried Richard III wore grey garments and were hence known as the Grey Friars, just as those who wore black garments were known as the Black Friars, and the profound thinkers who ate a lot, the Deep Fat Friars.
Now, it was an amazing night for Jeremy Corbyn. Alan, you described him as useless, incompetent and incapable.
You're reading things into that, and this is... typical of the mainstream media attacking. So Hislop and his establishment paper, Public Eye, whatever it is.
Yes.
And you just make up these
Can I just say at this point, I'd like to congratulate Jeremy on a very, very good campaign. I'm not serious. He was terrible, but he wasn't as terrible as her. That's all that matters. If you start from a really low bar, a huge success. But he's now as successful as Gordon Brown was when he lost.
I sort of think that most people will vote Remain if they do it again.
No, all the polls suggest people haven't changed their minds at all.
OK.
Everyone in here, if you had your time again, who would vote differently?
Well, what's that going to tell us?
I'll tell you what that is
50% put their hands up. Well, that's conclusive.
No, what that tells us is absolutely pointless to have a second referendum, because for anyone to vote any different, they would have to admit they got it wrong the first time round. No one's going to do that.
No, people don't want to do that.
Yeah. All that talk about, oh, if there's a second referendum, there will be 80-20 in favour of Remain, not on your Nelly. No chance. It will be exactly the same outcome, because say you weren't happy with the level of immigration 2 years ago, you're not going to be happy about it now. No. So if you thought 2 years ago the country was run by unelected European Union bureaucrats, well, nothing over the past 2 years would have changed your opinion on that. Well, and if you were daft enough to fall for that 350 million quid a week for the NHS law, you're daft enough to fall for something else next time round.
Another for you.
Oh, yes, OK. This is a clip from George Méliès's Voyage to the Moon. That's a nuclear explosion. There was some story this week about, was it during the Cold War, the Americans were debating about whether they should blow up the moon with nuclear weapons. I didn't quite see what they thought the point of that would be.
It's because Hans Blix had told them that the clangers had weapons of mass destruction. Obviously, the little boy was the bomb they dropped on Hiroshima, so they were looking at something a lot bigger. It was called a fat man. Would you like to see a picture of a fat man?
Yeah.
See? This is the actual bomb. You thought we were going to show you something like this. No.
It's Eric Pickles. He's a member of the cabinet.
you ever heard of him?
Yes, I certainly have, but I didn't realise he was that large.
What was the reason why they wanted to do this?
It was like, I think it was sort of posturing, because the Russians had launched Sputnik, so they wanted to make a statement and surprise the Russians by blowing up the moon. Yeah, nothing happened in the
Sanity
end.
prevailed.
Yeah, because there were doubts over what effect a moon blast could have on Earth, including tidal patterns. Talking of which, floods in this country have now got serious because a celebrity has been affected. Which celebrity?
What's the initials?
PD.
Is it P. Diddy?
Paul Daniels.
Paul Daniels.
Paul Daniels.
He lives by the River Thames.
Correct.
He lives on a little island.
Yeah.
Yes. Paul Daniels said this week that he was furious with the council and that his house was currently under about 2 foot of flooding.
He's been flooded every year for years and he keeps moaning about it. Get a sandbag, for God's sake.
Weird, is it, if you live next to the Thames and then complain about flooding?
In the Thames.
It's like moving in next door to Ryan Giggs and then complaining when he bangs your wife. Like... You surely knew when you moved into the area. This is America's plan in the 1950s to blow up the moon. The plan to fire a nuclear missile at the moon was codenamed Project A119, although its purpose was later downgraded to finding a way of connecting Hertford and Stevenage. That is the actual road. Meanwhile, on Earth, the UK was again hit by widespread flooding. One of the people affected was magician Paul Daniels. He was stranded in his house. The emergency services said despite frantic efforts, they were running out of excuses not to rescue him.
Sure. Take a look at this.
That's women bishops.
Yes, it's welcome to Have I Got Pews for You. We must have had that joke before, Ian.
No, there's a reason for that.
No. There's the outgoing Robert Runcie hugging what could be a female member of the laity, or the lady.
I think it's Rowan Williams, actually.
Oh, it was Rowan Williams, wasn't
Yes.
it? Did I say Runcie? God,
Yeah, he's
I am
dead,
out
but
of date, aren't
in
I?
a real sense, he's still with us. Essentially, as I understood it, there was an overwhelming majority in favour of women bishops, which means you can't have them.
I think everyone was a bit startled, shaken and stirred. Shaken and stirred by this vote, because in this country...
It doesn't help by repeating it slow and
No.
louder.
I thought we bonded then, though. Me and...
We
OK,
have bonded. I
hurry up.
was thinking of covering the Israel-Gaza crisis.
No way on the women bishops.
Yeah, well, I reckon the women bishop story would keep it light. Just shows you how wrong I can be, doesn't it?
I think that in this country we expect people, on the whole, especially beardy Christians, who wear sandals and who say things like, God bless.
I think it's called Jesus. It's called Jesus in the Bible.
We expect them.
Jesus in the Bible.
I know you're a Christian, Ian. What would you have voted for
Well,
women
now,
bishops?
really, in this country, you can't go around throwing that sort of accusation at people.
You are openly
I'm a
Christian.
member of the Church of England, which is very, very different.
Is it? Well, it is now.
There are three houses. There's the bishops, and they voted for it, and the priests, and they voted for it, and the laity, they didn't. It's a very, very peculiar decision. But as it happens, everyone's very, very sad and very, very disappointed. They're going to do what the C of E does, is they say, we're going to take our time, we're going to pray for each other, we're going to bitch about each other really badly in private, and then in another 100 years, we'll have another vote.
Yes, but
as soon as that?
Yes. No, it's all go.
Reform's just like that amongst religious
Well,
groups,
I'm never
isn't
going to
it?
make it, am I, as a women bishop?
Do you know, I think you're not.
I tell you what, though, this has opened the door for women imams. There's a whole gap in the market
Well, what
there.
I think is that the women in the church...
They haven't quite got round to that yet.
But it was stymied by the laity, whatever that means.
Whatever it means, it happened.
Who are the laity?
They don't know, but they specialise in stymieing. He's been charged with lying, hasn't he?
Yes.
With falsifying, with the big bus with the figure outside that was something like £320 billion a week going through Europe or something like that. So
We'll have to be careful, or they'll cut this out, and I don't want anyone to spoil the fun of thinking Boris is going to go to jail for life. Which, so, at the moment, we're just at the preliminary hearing stage.
Oh, right, OK.
About whether, when he was a public official, he was telling lies and therefore abusing his office. It should be an interesting trial. I mean, very similar to putting the Pope on trial and saying, are you a Catholic? He was sacked from then sacked from sacked by his own reprimanded.
Ian,
yes,
we're not allowed to say anything that might prejudice the case.
Well, that's absolutely fair enough, because I would like him to have a fair trial with a desirable result of him being imprisoned forever.
Without wishing to prejudice the outcome of the case?
No, because we mustn't do that. I'm not saying he's guilty.
Would you like to see Boris Johnson?
Let's deal with your arguments. One of them is on the side of this bus. We sent 350 million to Europe. We don't, and you know we don't. No, we don't. You know we don't.
No,
Admit that that figure is grotesquely misleading at best.
I won't.
The true figure is 161 million, correct?
No, the true figure is 350 million.
In net terms, the real figure is 161.
If you take out the abatement and the money that comes back, the UK money that comes back via Brussels, the figure is obviously lower.
Matt Lucas is so good.
How did David Cameron vote on the high-speed rail bill's second reading?
Well, he's all for it, isn't he?
He didn't turn up.
Oh, he didn't turn up?
No.
He didn't actually turn up.
He was on a train, it was late.
Well...
He didn't bother, even though he lives just across the road. Apparently he was having a date night, and Nick was really looking forward to it, so he... Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, is a supporter of the high-speed rail link, but how did he sensitively answer those voicing environmental concerns?
He said it's absolute bollocks. All these environmentalists, they don't care about butterflies and trees. All they care about is their house prices. Do you know what? If Boris Johnson was like a woman or a poor person, they wouldn't get away with the things that he says. But because he was, like, well-educated and posh, I think people think...
Is there a problem coming here?
No, but I think... No, but we wouldn't get away with it. But people assume that his stupidity is deliberate because he's been so well-educated. He basically said that trees were stupid and that they didn't need to be saved because there are no trees in this country older than 200 years old.
Why is he so anti-tree?
He hates trees. They all hate grit. They all think the environment is, like, for pussies, don't they, and girls and stuff. No, they do. It's all money.
Who's
They
they?
make me sick. Oh, you lot.
Yeah.
What lie did Boris Johnson tell Robert Preston?
Was this the 350 million again?
Linked?
On the NHS?
Linked.
Did he say it would be
Oh,
reconsidered?
He said it was in the manifesto.
Yeah.
Did she say it at the manifesto launch?
No. Not only did he lie, but he actually cheated as well, because he looked at Preston's notes in the hope of finding out what the question was going to be, and he was caught.
I didn't know what cheating you were referring to there.
You've suddenly adopted the character of a northern housewife. Have you heard about... Well, no surprise to me. He was rinsing out his own gloves last Saturday.
We haven't talked about Labour very much, so to head off any accusations of bias...
Are you leaving now to be replaced? The next round will be hosted by Michael Portillo. Come on, we can have a train round.
When it comes to Labour's manifesto promises, how did Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry muddy the waters?
Was this Trident?
Yep.
She said there'd be a review, and the review might include scrapping it. Was that the problem?
And do you know who contradicted her and said it was Labour's policy to keep Trident?
Shadow Defence?
The Shadow Defence Secretary, that's right. This was Nia Griffiths, the Shadow Defence Secretary. Emily is not the Shadow Defence Secretary, I am.
You're doing it again! I don't know who that man was she was in the pub on Saturday, but it wasn't her husband, I'll tell you that much. I know full well he's got a job in Peterborough.
So where did David Cameron decide to start pumping himself up? Where
Where?
did this happen? Yes. I mean, geographically, where?
Was it in the Ghoul area?
He was visiting the Institute of Chartered Accountants.
Oh, yes, I see.
Oh, that's a really pumped-up kind of place.
Exactly right. Yeah, do you want to have a little look at this?
Yeah. And if I'm getting lively about it, it's because I feel bloody lively about it. And if you think I'm going to roll over in the next 10 days and let Ed Miliband and Alex Salmond rack that, you've got another thing coming. Taking a risk, having a punt, having a go. That pumps me up.
I think that passes for hysteria amongst the accountants.
Yeah. As well as being bloody lively and
Yes.
pumped up, what
Yeah.
else is David Cameron going to do?
He's not going to put up taxes.
He's not going to put up taxes.
It's more than
but
that,
how
though.
is he going to ensure
He's
that
going
he
to
does?
pass
By an
a
act of
law
Parliament.
to stop people like himself putting up taxes. It's the most pathetic gesture I've ever seen. Saying, look, I can't be trusted not to just whack up income tax as soon as I get in, so I'm going to pass a law to stop me. Income tax, VAT and national
insurance, yeah.
You know, in any government that comes in, historically, the first thing they do is they put up taxes, because they have to. And it's the only year you can do it where you're not worried about the election. So taxes will go up. He'll have to find some other ones. Or break the law and be arrested. Or maybe he knows he's not getting in anyway. Oh, the Kent police.
George Osborne was very good on this in 2009 when because Brown was talking about passing legislation.
Yeah, Gordon Brown outlawed child poverty.
Yeah.
Gone. Thank God for that. Don't have to worry about that anymore. It's against the law. No, it's finished.
The low point of the media coverage this week, I think, was the analysis of Samantha Cameron's feet. In various newspapers where there was a shot of her with her shoes off, and there were big close-ups, and all the experts were coming in to describe...
They thought there was a slight yellowing of the toenails.
Definitely a yellowing, and
could have been
how
caused...
high heels were damaging her feet.
Was it in the Daily Mail? Was it saying Labour poisons Sam's feet?
Which football team does David Cameron support?
Aston Villa.
Well, he doesn't really know, does he? And he claimed to be an Aston Villa supporter, but then he said this in a speech.
Where you can support Man United, the Windies and Team GB all at the same time. Of course, I'd rather you supported West Ham.
He seemed to realise he'd said the wrong thing.
How did he explain his mistake?
I don't support West Ham or Aston Villa. I'm no interested in football. We played rugger where I come from. But a lot of people watch football, so I pretended to have an interest in it in order to gain their vote.
Anyone can lose the bit of paper. I mean, if you're a vicar, everyone always expects you to be able to quote chapter and verse from the Bible, but you don't hold the information in that way. So it's thou shalt not commit adultery, you know. Tiny detail. The Gospel according to Shrek, I don't know.
No, he was announcing the childcare plans.
Yeah, it was a big one.
I mean, it was that issue. So there were two things to remember, how many children and how much it cost. It was poor. I mean, it's difficult to spin it any other way.
I've just heard that Theresa May is now pulled out of doing Woman's Hour herself. She's been replaced by Justine Greening. What do you think of that?
Do you know that's in the same studio as Saturday Live? So I'll be detecting
The
signs
aura.
of nervousness on the seats when they go in.
Possibly disgusting.
It's another edition of I didn't know a vicar would say that.
Do you usually sniff the seats?
This is the exciting news that the election campaign is nearly over. Theresa May warned that when it came to the EU, Jeremy Corbyn could find himself alone and naked in the negotiating chamber, something only achieved once before by a rat-arse Nigel Farage. During her interview with Jeremy Paxman, Theresa May insisted that what's needed to negotiate a successful Brexit is a bloody difficult woman. Luckily, that's exactly what Germany has got. After Theresa May missed the debate, the Mirror referred to the absent Prime Minister as Chicken Theresa May. You can order Chicken Theresa May in a restaurant near me. It's thin-skinned, boneless and refuses to be grilled.
David Cameron was kind of the main act. What did you make of his speech?
Well, I mean, again, he's quite competent. He doesn't mess up the autocue. He got some applause. He did some stuff in the middle. He quoted Kipling, the poet, not the cake maker.
Don't patronise me! To be fair, I always thought it was pronounced Kapling.
It's National Poetry Day today, isn't it?
Is it?
I think it is,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Well, not tomorrow, obviously, when we're shown, so that ruins that.
This isn't live!
It's barely breathing.
How did you feel about him having a go at your friend Jeremy Corbyn, Diane?
Well, it's certainly not the kinder, gentler politics.
He did say in his speech, Jeremy Corbyn, he said, "My friends, we cannot let that man inflict his security-threatening, terrorist-sympathising, Britain-hating ideology on the country we love." This was in reference to an interview Corbyn gave in 2011 where he said it was a tragedy bin Laden had been assassinated rather than tried in an international court. BBC News didn't mention that nuance in their coverage of Cameron's speech because they've still got a licence fee to defend.
However, Ed Balls was remaining optimistic.
Mr Balls, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, there's been this story going the rounds on Twitter and all the rest of it that you've been defeated. Have you heard anything about your result yet or not?
David, the ballot boxes haven't even arrived in the count. And they've got to be counted, and then we'll get the results. So I think maybe you should spend less time on Twitter and more time reporting the results when they're actually declared.
Let's just see how
That's the Shadow Chancellor.
So good of him to explain the whole process. They get the votes in and then they count them. Well, thank you, Ed. Thank you for your insight, you little expert.
He's an economist. He's good with figures.
Should we see how it panned out for him?
Ed Balls, in the last few minutes, Shadow Chancellor, lost his seat to the Conservatives.
Is that an R?
No. No, I think
this
some
is
people
the Shadow Chancellor.
No, some people were genuinely surprised, I think. There were some people who didn't know.
I'm sorry. I thought it was a wave of empathy.
Is David Dimbleby going to call him and go, have they been counted now, Ed?
Vince Cable says what?
Goodbye!
Vince Cable says, I'm absolutely sure we're going to bounce back.
Oh, he did say that afterwards.
Doesn't make any sense, does it? Be optimistic before, then you realise you've done shit, stop being optimistic. Do you know what I mean? It's all gone wrong.
But that's real grit.
Just stop for a minute, please.
Yeah, it's too much, isn't it?
Miliband has resigned.
Oh, my God!
As unexpected as I am to take on the leadership of the Labour Party, and indeed the Liberal Democrats and UKIP as well, I'm going to merge them all together into one almighty union.
Everything we said is completely irrelevant.
So out of that 7, who's left? It's like the Magnificent
Nicola
Seven.
Sturgeon.
3 women are left.
Natalie
Clyde
Bennett.
Cumberry.
Has she not resigned yet?
Leanne Wood.
Oh, come on.
So that's...
A lot of pressure, isn't there? A lot of pressure.
So
They've got one seat.
They've
Give it
all
back to
gone
Caroline
all
Lucas.
the men have gone except Cameron.
Only the women have staying power.
You'll do anything for applause, won't you?
I'll do anything for a woman.
Goldman Sachs, they've been caught out, and the Americans are charging them with fraud. Goldman Sachs invented a bond to sell to people, which was based on subprime mortgages. So it was a pretty hopeless thing to sell to people. But they designed it to lose money, because one of their other clients was a big hedge fund manager who were betting on the bond to lose. So Goldman Sachs were selling this bond to you, saying this is terrific, and behind the back going to one of their clients, bet on this is complete rubbish. So Goldman Sachs basically proved that the entire financial collapse wasn't just an act of God or an accident, it was a fraud.
Can I just interrupt at this point?
Yeah.
Because I should make it plain, the law being as it is.
Yes.
Goldman calls the charges completely unfounded in law and fact.
What does Sachs say?
Yes. He completely
What can
agrees
you
with
do?
him.
You get caught, you get caught.
Frankly, I can't see any of this making it into the finished programme.
Are you worried about libel?
Yes. Unlike you, I haven't ever been done for it before.
I think there's very little chance of you getting any more than 2 years.
Yeah. And anyway, Jeremy, backstage
gear.
he was saying what a bunch of crooks Goldman Sachs.
You could present your programme from your cell. The mission could be to walk from one end to the other in the shortest possible time.
It's the
anonymous
hackers.
hackers. Are they anonymous? I don't know where they're from.
No, we do know where they're from.
Are they from? Where are they from?
They are from North Korea.
Oh,
it turns out.
Has that been proven?
Not totally proven. But they're not going to sue me, so I think... No, I think it probably is North Korea. There's something in the... Something in the code, when it was unhacked, indicated that it might have been from North Korea.
Giles, you know way too much about this.
Well,
I think you were
only
involved.
because I did chair the Cybersecurity Awards quite recently. I can't tell you where or when.
Is that security or Alzheimer's?
You know what the virus was called? It was called WannaCry. It demands money before you can get your computer files back.
Oh, it was all in Bitcoins as well.
Bitcoins?
Bitcoins.
No, we've left the European market. They're Bitcoins.
There's been a sort of failure of the government here, hasn't there? Or?
They were warned, I mean, at least 3 years ago, that XP needed updating. But the trouble with the NHS, it spent a lot of money on IT already, about 12 billion, for a system that didn't work. So essentially it doesn't have any money left, so they didn't pay for the update.
We've not upgraded the security properly, and we've been running the NHS on Windows XP, so people have probably been told that they're dying by a helpful paperclip.
I like the idea that as a hacker, you would target for a ransom the NHS, one of the few world organisations you know doesn't have any money.
Probably given Jeremy Hunt some ideas about how to get money out of it. What must it be like being Jeremy Hunt at the moment? Imagine he goes into hospital. He'll be the first person to have a sprained wrist treated anally. Sorry, Mr. Hunt, this is going to involve a bit of a run-up. Luckily, our computers are down, so there's no record of what's about to happen to you.
This bit of malware was actually stolen from the American National Security Association, you know, which is a misnomer.
Well, I think President Trump gave it away.
Does anyone know what the Russians have said about it? Exactly that.
Well, they're claiming it's not them, because the Russian Interior Ministry was targeted.
That was a decoy.
You're so clever, Giles.
These are just things I picked up at the cybersecurity conference.
The Russians have said this completely doesn't concern Russia.
Time now for the odd one out round. It's just one between you this week. A dog in Thailand. Scott Mann, MP, Judith Strang from Texas, and Damian Green. Yes.
Now, Scott Mann, colleague of Johnny's,
Yeah.
and I believe there was an incident where Johnny actually saved his life from drowning. So I'm guessing that he is perhaps the odd one out in that the other three all float.
Is that right? Did you save his life?
Yeah, I mean, it's just because I thought he had my wallet, actually.
He got sacked from the Tory party, or did he resign?
Damian Green's still an MP. He was Deputy Prime Minister and then had a slight...
There was some porn found on a computer that he had access to, and the other three people featured in the film he was watching.
They've all been rescued at sea, apart from Damian Green, who had to be rescued from a river. He was thrown in as part of a student prank while studying at Oxford University. But more recently, who did Damian Green have a run-in with outside Parliament?
Yeah, so there's a set of protesters that are, like, permanently outside Parliament, so that when anyone goes on TV, they just heckle with quite amusing abuse, to be honest, some of it. But obviously some of it's not. And Damian Green came off an interview and met this chap who's dressed in a European flag and told him that in a contested field, you are by far the biggest here. No. And he was right.
Let's have a look.
Hello, can I ask how you're feeling about the vote yesterday?
No, you can't, because you just tried to shout over an interview I've done, like you do everyone else.
I did. I was singing.
You are the biggest wanker.
Where did this dog end up at sea?
Australia.
Hawaii. Same 5G company we're talking about.
Not quite. It was spotted last week by oil rig workers in Thailand 135 miles from shore.
Wow.
Who threw that stick?
Wow.
And finally, where did Judith Strang from Texas end up in the sea?
On holiday, was it? On holiday somewhere?
Yes, she was on a tour of...
The fjords.
She was in Iceland. She sat down on some ice which had formed in the shape of a throne and was promptly carried out to sea.
How hot is her arse?
The iceberg incident happened a couple of weeks ago, after which the accident-prone granny completed her tour of Europe with a trip to Paris, where she lit a candle in Notre Dame.
Now, that really is enough about the government's bad week. Oh, no, sorry. Andy Coulson. Where did he unexpectedly find himself this week?
In the back of a cop car heading to Scotland.
Because?
Because they want to have a word.
I had absolutely no idea that you were a gangster.
Andy Coulson.
He's been arrested for perjury.
Yes.
During a trial where someone else was on trial for perjury.
Yes.
While he was actually working for the Prime Minister, which is pretty shocking. Are you shocked, Alistair?
I'm shocked.
You. I'm glad you're shocked, because, you know, some of the people that this government have been hanging about with... Rebecca Brooks? Know her at all?
I do.
Were you shocked when she was arrested?
I've been shocked by lots of things, Ian.
He's been charged, though, not just arrested. He's been charged.
He's been charged.
Which is why Ian's being so careful.
Yeah.
About Andy Coulson, if not about me.
Well, they haven't charged you yet.
Is it hot in here?
In case anyone thinks I'm being gratuitous, I know that Alistair is going to be reasonable tonight, because he told Leveson, I am robust, but I'm not a bully. So no matter what anyone says, you're going to be really reasonable.
Tonight? No.
That's good, though, to remember. Like, if your kid gets caught, like, kicking a fat kid, just go, no, he's not a bully, just robust. He's robust.
It probably seemed like a good idea when you said yes.